Right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our community's house. We are all guests in it, here to serve our community. My name is Mike Little. I'm the mayor of the District of North Vancouver, and so the pleasure falls to me to welcome you all here to this public hearing. A public hearing is a quasi-judicial process laid out in provincial legislation. So we have some tight rules that we have to follow on our side. And so I'm going to start the meeting off by reading a bit of a script to just sort of lay out the ground rules of the public hearing. And then I'll go through the order of events for the evening after that point. So this is the public hearing for 1200 block East Keith Road, and this is amendments to the zoning bylaw. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act and is being held in a hybrid meeting format, meaning there is a combination of in-person and electronic participation by some or all members of the council, staff, and the public. The chair has established the following rules for this hearing. Following the staff presentation, we will go through the established speakers list. At the end of the speakers list, the chair may call for any other speakers not already on the speakers list. You will have 5 minutes to address council for a first time. Begin your remarks to council by stating your name. After everyone who wishes to speak has spoken once, speakers will then be allowed one additional 5-minute opportunity. Any additional presentations will only be allowed at the discretion of the chair. Please do not repeat your information from your previous presentations and ensure your comments remain focused on the bylaws under consideration this evening. If you've provided a written submission, there's no need to read it, as it will have already been seen by council. You may summarize or briefly reiterate the highlights of your submission, but ensure your comments pertain to the bylaw under consideration at this hearing. All members of the audience are asked to be respectful for one another as diverse opinions are expressed. Council wishes to hear everyone's views in an open and impartial forum. Some important notes about public hearings. The council is here to listen to the public, not to debate the merits of the bylaw. Council may ask clarifying questions. The clerk has a binder containing documents and submissions related to the bylaw which council has received and which you are welcome to review. This is available on the table next to the door and online at dnv.org/agenda. Everyone at the hearing will be provided an opportunity to speak. If necessary, we will continue the hearing on a second night. At the conclusion of the public input, council may request further information from staff, which may or may not require an extension of the hearing, or council may close the hearing, after which council should not receive further new information from the public. Finally, please note that this hearing is being held via Zoom and recorded in accordance with the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. And then at this point, I'll go to the clerk to introduce the bylaw under consideration.
Thank you. Through the chair. District of North Vancouver rezoning bylaw 1430, bylaw 8643. Bylaw 8643 proposes to amend the district zoning bylaw by rezoning the site from single family residential RS4 to comprehensive development zone 146, CD 146. The CD 146 zone addresses permitted and accessory uses and conditions of use and zoning provisions such as density, setbacks, height, building and site coverage, landscaping and parking, loading and servicing requirements.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. If you intend to provide comments during the public hearing tonight, please be mindful that there may be other community members joining us this evening who are experiencing or have experienced homelessness. I encourage you to be mindful of your fellow residents and keep any comments respectful and appropriate. I make that comment because unfortunately some of the tenor of some of the emails that have come in have been pretty disrespectful, and so I just want to make sure that people are reminded that this is a public forum here and we need to treat people properly. I will just say housekeeping matters before we get going. So what's going to happen at the front end of the meeting is there's an opportunity, in any normal public hearing, there's usually a period of up to about a half an hour of presentation. It's typically the applicant and district staff that put forward that presentation. In the case today, because the district is the applicant, there's going to be a couple of different presentations in a row, but I'm assured by our staff it will all be wrapped up within about 25 minutes at the front end of the meeting here, and then we'll go into public comment at that time. Did just want to mention for your comfort, we do have washrooms just outside the door. If anyone needs to come up, stand up and have a leg stretch, that's fine. Come and go as you please. We're not going to be bothered by that. But we want everybody to be comfortable. When we get to the end of the speakers list that we have already, we're going to wait until we hear everybody's views. So what'll happen is we'll just keep going through the list in accordance to the rules that we have here. I'll ask for people to raise their hands. I'll ask for virtual participants to raise their hands. But this meeting doesn't end until everybody's had an opportunity to speak. And so I just wanted to make sure if you're getting nervous that the list is coming and you don't know when your time's going to be up to speak, we'll keep adding people until we're done and completed with the hearing at that time. So at this point, I'd like to go to our staff presentation. So we have Tamsin Guppy from Planning is going to start off the presentation. Welcome, Tamsin.
Sorry, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for coming out tonight. As discussed, we'll do a short presentation and I would like to just start by taking us through, well, the agenda. So I'll be proposing the bylaws, explaining the purpose of the application, speaking to the process that we've been going through, and as the mayor mentioned, trying to keep it fairly short. So I wanted to start by introducing our partners who are here, which is great because if you have questions, Mayor and Council, then we have the experts here in the room to help me answer them. And once again, the District North Vancouver is at the table here as an applicant as well as the planning staff. We have BC Housing, Vancouver Coastal Health, and Luma Native Housing Society. And I'd like to invite Naomi and Megan, Vancouver Coastal Health and BC Housing, who are going to be co-presenting with me this evening.
Sound okay at the back? You're good? There you go. Awesome. Thank you very much.
There's actually an echo.
Bit of an echo. I don't know what we can do to adjust that, but okay.
I will keep going.
Please.
And hopefully not too much of an echo. So the site is located at the northeast corner of East Keith Road and Mountain Highway. It's a site that is designated for low-rise apartments in the official community plan and is on the edge of Lynn Creek Town Center. This is the same site outlined in red once again. This view shows the rear road allowance, which is currently a BC Hydro right-of-way, but also has the potential to be opened as a road or driveway to the site. So many people have asked about why we consider housing, and the municipality has the role and responsibility to think about how we house district residents. And we've been doing this for many years, and we embed those discussions in our public processes around our vision for the community through the official community plan and the more recent targeted action plan, and through the extensive work that was done on the rental and affordable housing strategy and the more recent housing needs report. And these studies all speak to our need to house our residents, to our need to provide social and supportive housing, and in particular to address the housing crisis and how that impacts those who are homeless. Bylaw 8643 is the purpose of this evening's public hearing. It is a rezoning bylaw, and it proposes to rezone the sites outlined in red on the map on this slide from the single-family residential to a comprehensive development zone, CD 146. The purpose of this new zone, CD 146, is to redesignate these sites for residential use in an apartment format of up to 6 stories, a density of 1.75, and intended primarily for social and supportive housing. There is an associate bylaw being presented as well, and that's bylaw 8644. It's a development cost charge waiver bylaw, and it would apply to this site if this site were to go ahead with development, that is. For social and supportive housing, and it allows the district to waive the development cost, the municipal development cost charges, similar to what was being done in past years on other social housing sites. The official community plan designation for the site, and again, the site is outlined in red on this map. The brown shows the residential level 5, which, as mentioned, is a designation which permits low-rise apartments. And you can see that it extends from this property east to Lynn Creek. Here is a draft layout provided by BC Housing and the design team who have started work. Now, I will mention that this is draft. The design work is at the very early stages while designs are tested and ideas considered, but it gives you a sense of the massing on the site, and that the current proposals are to locate the building towards the rear property line, allowing buffering along the street and to the east. Again, access would be coming from the rear with potential parking and loading at this corner of the site. Here are some massing diagrams, and again, very general at this stage because we are only at rezoning where we're considering land use only and not design, but it gives you a sense of the bulk that you could expect on this building. And here again is a massing diagram showing the same site. Here is Keith Road, and in this one, Mountain Highway is on the side. And again, there's that potential opening of the road allowance to the rear with parking spaces in the road allowance. So what is supportive housing? It is an apartment form, and at least that's how it is being proposed on this site. And here are some images that show other supportive housing sites around BC. The housing part includes 65 studio apartments, and each apartment would have its own kitchen, bathroom, and of course be a private home for the residents who live there. The supportive part refers to the services that are provided on site for residents only. And these provide a mix of services that are intended to help people heal and support them where they're at. So that includes things like meals, access to healthcare, mental health and substance use support, life and employment skills training, connections to education and employment opportunities, family reunification, and cultural services. And once again, these are for the residents, to support the residents who will live in this building. They are not for any other members of the public. Who is supportive housing for? This project is intended for North Shore residents who are either homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. It's an adult-oriented facility for those who are over 19 years of age, and of course would be for those who are on low income and will require support services to maintain successful tenancy. It is for all genders. To give you some sense of who might be living here, there have been several newspaper articles or media articles over the years about the homeless. And in one case, the title was The Hidden Homeless on the North Shore. These are people in our community who have been living here, often grew up here, lived here their whole lives, but for various reasons have found themselves unable to meet their rent requirements and are now facing homelessness. Some people are living out of their cars, some people are living rough. Why is supportive housing needed? Well, again, there are homeless in our community, and the 2023 homeless count, which is a point-in-time count, found that there were 168 people on the North Shore facing homelessness. Community benefits. The other piece of why we want to support this project is recognizing that moving people inside not only benefits those people, but benefits our entire community. It helps reduce costs to our healthcare system, helps reduce ambulance calls. These are statistics that kind of flag that, and it makes sense when you think about how if you're living inside and you have the benefit of not being outside on a night to night, like tonight, you're not suffering from exposure, you have regular meals, you're immediately in a better physical health than you would be living outside. Deputy Fire Chief Mike Tanks, who's here this evening, was sharing a story about how, from a first responder's perspective, if you're trying to assist somebody who's outside living in a park or on the street, first you have the challenge of finding them, you're helping assist them in sometimes quite terrible conditions, again, looking outside. Whereas if you compare that to coming to a home and being let in by the staff, being taken straight to where the resident is in distress, knowing a little bit about the resident, being able to give in their history, it all helps our staff and our first responders deal with these situations in a more cost-effective and timely and effective way and potentially save lives. And that turns, to the key thing here is supportive housing. Giving people a safe home saves lives. And that's probably the most important thing to take away this evening. So turning to the process that has been going on over the last few weeks. Typically with a development application, we immediately post the information on our district website. And in this case, the information was also posted on the BC Housing website, Let's Talk. And that information included information about the proposal, a report to council. It also included information on the public information meeting sessions, information on the partners, links to statistics and slides that were used during the meeting, a video of one of these sessions. Then the sessions themselves. Typically, we hold one in-person session and some type of virtual alternative. For this project, we held an in-person session at the Holiday Inn on November 8th, as well as 4 online sessions. Those were opportunities where staff made a presentation, and then there was about an hour or more for questions and answers. Those meetings were all well intended. They were mostly held in the evenings, but we did try one during the day to give people different options for when they could attend. And we also held them on different days of the week to, again, try to provide multiple options for people to attend. We've had pretty robust public input period, as you can see from the binder that's over there. And what's encouraging is that almost everybody who has spoken to us or written in any format has said how providing housing for the homeless is incredibly important, and we should be thinking about it. We should be addressing it. As of yesterday evening, it was about 19%. It changes during the day depending how many emails are coming in. But yesterday, as of 3, we had over 50 submissions that were in support. Now, that is much less than those that were opposed, but it's a significant number compared to most applications we get. So it was worth mentioning. The large majority of the correspondence we've received has been raising a concern, and a particular concern about proposing this supportive housing project on this site. And a lot of fear expressed around a potential increase in crime, around the services that might be provided, and about potential impacts with property value. And I'll be getting into those in just a moment more. The other thing I would just like to highlight is, once again, all of the comments that have come in, both to the BC Housing website and to myself and to the input at DNB or letters sent directly to council, have all been included in the binder and all shared with council. So the first question we got quite a lot was, why this location? So the district recognized, and again, coming back to that earlier work on the official community plan and the rental and affordable housing strategy, spoke to leveraging district lands to help facilitate supportive and social housing projects. So we were looking for district land. We were looking for land that was residential or could be rezoned for a residential purpose. And we were looking for land that was right sized for apartment of this scale. And it needed to be close to key services and in the community, because we know that putting this type of housing where friends and family can easily get to it helps people heal and reintegrate into society. So when you look at this site, which is shown with the little red triangle on this map, it is quite close to the Park and Tilbert shopping area, not too far from the Superstore shopping area, close to the community center, currently at Sealand Hall, but soon to open the Lynn Creek Community Center right across the street. The new shops that are going in along Mountain Highway, including my favorite pharmacy, and a variety of other services in the area. The black dots, by the way, represent transit stops in the area, and you can see that there's both an east and westbound transit stop very close to the site. There have been a lot of concerns around a potential increase in crime, and the statistics show that crime rates drop when people are less desperate, when people have safe homes and have access to food. There are studies we can cite, like this one, that speaks to 5 different supportive housing projects recently built in BC and how they saw an 18% drop in crime rates. But I think perhaps more telling for people is how, and it comes back to the services that are offered and that they're only offered for the residents. On the weekend, because I've definitely been hearing people from the community raise concerns about what will this do to my neighborhood. And while I don't live in this neighborhood, I live just up the hill in Lynn Valley. It's a neighborhood I know very well. I've worked on different projects in the area, and it is what I consider part of my community. So I went to visit sites in Vancouver. So in addition to the site on Heather Street that many members of council and staff toured, I also went to these sites that are close to the, sorry, just gone out of my name, the Trout Lake, there we go, Trout Lake Park, and the East 29th SkyTrain station. And I not only looked at the buildings, but I walked around the site, and it showed what the stats have been saying and what the BC Housing projects have been saying, and what many of our partners who live close to these projects have been saying, is that once they are built, these are homes, they're permanent homes for the residents, and there is no services provided to non-residents. So you don't get that hanging on effect that you see at some of the other centers, like some of the shelters or the downtown east side, places that have been referenced by people and where people have fears about what might happen. These are homes, and they have a lovely residential feel to the neighborhood they're in. I also was surprised to learn from one of my colleagues that when she found out I was working on this project, she said, "Oh, I used to live across the street from one on Chesterfield." We have a variety of homes that support residents here in North Vancouver and on the North Shore. This one that I've got a picture of the street in front of it is a block from the city of North Van City Hall and the City Library. I've driven by it many times, walked by it, didn't even know it was there. That's how well integrated it is. Safety and security features. And again, there's a lot of concern that we're not going to be doing enough. So I want to emphasize that this building is a purpose-built building with key design elements to improve safety and security. And those designs will be reviewed by the RCMP as part of the typical review of our designs, looking at the crime prevention through environmental design, or CPTED principles. Once again, it's that 24/7 staff component where you'll have up to 4 staff overnight and 12 staff during the daytime that provides that oversight that's there all the time. And that really does help. There's a single point of contact. So when residents or neighbors or anyone sees a concern or has a concern, they can phone somebody right away. And there'll be ongoing liaison with the district staff, with the RCMP, any first responders, whoever is needed. That continuing relationship remains. Lastly, we had a concern about property value. And while I've never seen an impact to property values, despite this being a concern that's raised on every project I've ever worked on, BC Housing has actually studied this and can confirm that this does not impact property value. Now I'd like to turn it over to Megan.
Thank you so much. So good evening, Your Worship and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Megan Coleman. I work for Vancouver Coastal Health.
Folks, can we just keep the chatter to a minimum so we can hear the presenter, please? Sorry, Megan, go ahead.
My name is Megan Coleman. I work for Vancouver Coastal Health as a director in the Regional Addiction Program. Just doing a check that everyone can hear me.
Yes.
So firstly, Vancouver Coastal Health supports the location of this building. It's responsive to the urgent local needs of the individuals who are already living unhoused or precariously housed in your community along the district of North Van and along the North Shore altogether. Housing people where they already live in established neighborhoods prevents the marginalization or segregation of people who have mental health and substance use challenges, and it instead promotes care and support in their own neighborhood where they already are living. This location keeps people in their home community and builds their support system, which improves belonging and social connection. This location is also accessible by public transit, by bike and transportation routes, which improves both accessibility and physical activity. And noting that access to essential services, amenities, and natural environment promotes physical health, reduces stress, and it improves mental well-being. Locating supportive and complex care housing at this site will help promote a healthy, vibrant, diverse, and inclusive neighborhood, as noted in the North Vancouver District Official Community Plan. Every day, we see the physical and mental health toll that being chronically unhoused or at risk of becoming homeless takes on individuals and their loved ones, family and friends, as well as our community. This proposed project is one of many complex care housing initiatives under development or already established across the Vancouver Coastal Health region, including in the Sunshine Coast, the Cathet region, Central Coast, Richmond, and Vancouver. And additionally, it's one of over 30 complex care housing initiatives in the province. For several decades as well, speaking specifically to the North Shore, there have been a number of homes across North Vancouver funded by Vancouver Coastal Health and supported by housing providers that offer care to individuals who are in need of supportive mental health and substance use care. Tamsin has already spoken to this. They're integrated into the nearby neighborhoods and their residents have become members of the community. We know that reducing instances of unsheltered homelessness brings stability to the area where people are already living. And there's also a socioeconomic benefit to the community. Tamsin has spoken to this. But studies show that for every dollar invested in homes with supported services in the community receives $4 to $5 back. And additionally, there are many co-benefits of providing housing for individual health and healthy communities, such as education, financial security, social cohesion, social connectedness, health support, reduced stress, and so on. So lastly, and most importantly, from a healthcare lens and as a community, we have a responsibility to provide care to people who most need it. These are people in our community who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. They are someone's family member, parent, child, aunt, uncle, friend, and so on. People with stories to tell and lives to live, deserving a safe place to call home in their own community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Naomi Brennemeyer, and I work at BC Housing as the Regional Director of Development for the Lower Mainland. And the District of North Vancouver and BC Housing have an established legacy of creating affordable housing for this community. The district has been a leader in identifying sites and priority residents to meet the community's affordable housing needs. This proposal is not new. We have several underway right now in partnership. We're just finishing up, ready for occupancy, Lynn Creek, which is affordable rental housing for seniors and families. It's a mixed income approach, capital and operating provided by BC Housing and the site provided by the district. We also have at building permit stage a supportive housing project at Lloyd Avenue for women and children who the district identified as a priority community, who the district brought the model to BC Housing for funding. And we just recently started construction on your second affordable rental housing project on the Delbrook lands at 600 West Queens Avenue. Again, this is mixed income affordable rental housing, but we have a gap. We have a gap in providing supportive housing, and that's what this opportunity allows us to do. BC Housing is here with capital and operating, and we have Vancouver Coastal Health's commitment for complex care. So we think that this opportunity to provide these North Shore residents housing is critical. We strongly believe that supportive housing belongs in all communities. We want it to be clear that this is a purpose-built supportive housing while residents will have their own suite that they can close their door when they want to live there. These are people who want to come inside. These are people who have chosen. These are people who will pay rent through income assistance or rent geared to income. These are people who will sign a tenancy agreement. These people want to come inside. They want to be part of a neighborhood. And so when we use the community referral process, where we have various agencies collect those residents to make sure that it's a good mix, that these are people who want to be accountable, who want to come indoors, that want to live and be housed in the same community that they already live in. We know that that's what works. And so I want it to be clear, the people that move in here, they want to be your residents, they want to be your neighbors. They want to be a good neighbor. The staff want to do that too. And that's what this project can have, a lasting impact for those people and the surrounding residents, and fill in that missing piece of the affordable housing continuum that still hasn't been built here in the district. Thank you. So just to wrap up, the next steps, council will continue with the public hearing, or get, and once the public hearing closes, the bylaw will come back for consideration by council. And once again, this is the rezoning the subject site at East Keith for a residential apartment building for supportive housing. If bylaw 8643 is adopted, then detailed design work will be undertaken and a development permit will be considered. The district will also be negotiating a land lease, and that gives us again more tools in terms of managing this project. And of course, none of us are going anywhere. All of the parties here and partners here today will continue to work together to build a strong project and a strong community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Again, I just want to restate what I said off the top of the meeting, that the purpose of this meeting is for council to hear your concerns, so for any people in our community who may have an interest in the matter. It's not a question and answer session. It is an opportunity for us to hear your concerns. As Tamsin said at the tail end of her presentation, the vote isn't tonight. The council will have an opportunity for a second and third reading will be in at least a few weeks. I think we're proposing a date of December 11th. And so the council will have an opportunity to deliberate, but if you came here expecting that the decision would follow immediately after, it's not. The decision takes place at second and third reading. If you read through the documentation, it's going to look like the bylaw is very, very specifically and only about the land use, as in what the building could look like, what the density would be, but we wanted to make sure that you have the agency feel comfortable talking about also the programming aspects of it. That's a part of this proposal, and so you don't have to just keep your comments refined to just the building aspect. You are welcome to make your comments about all aspects of the proposal. At this point, I'm going to go to the public speaking list. And so the clerk opened up the public speaking list a couple of days ago. And so we actually do have a number of people who have signed up in advance to speak. I think my list says 38 so far have signed up to speak. I got to tell you, I've been through a few public hearings over the years. That's going to probably take us till about 10 o'clock tonight, just so you're aware. And so we're going to go through, if somebody has said it better, if you think you just want to come up and say you support, that's okay too. And as the evening goes on, hopefully we'll be focused on adding new comments about different aspects. But if it's been said before and it's been said well before, you don't have to keep repeating it over and over again. We all want to get home on this fine rainy night and enjoy our evening. There's a few more seats up front here, and then I think we have any on the side. We're going to have a staff just look around and see if we can pull in any more chairs to the side areas. We'll have our deputy fire chief look the other way there for a minute as we. He's going to go get some chairs. But at this time, we're going to go into the public input, and that's the purpose of the rest of the evening, is to hear largely the public input. And so the first speaker I have is Jeff Fox, followed by Dan Pultra. And I believe Jeff Fox is joining us here in person, but I'm actually not certain about that. And I am going to have to flip back and forth between virtual and in person throughout the course of the evening. Welcome. I'm going to have you come up to the seats there. You can sit in either seat, and both microphones will pick you up.
Just about the tray.
If you have notes and you want to share them and you put them in the little black tray right in front of Jeff there on the table, we'll make sure the clerk's department scans them and shares them with the council as well, or you can email them in before we close the meeting. Once we close the meeting, we're not able to receive additional materials, but if you have it printed in hand, you're welcome to drop it in the tray there as you complete your remarks. Welcome, Jeff Fox. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Good evening, Council. My name is Jeff Fox, and I'm a lifelong resident of the District of North Vancouver and a homeowner for 30+ years in Lynn Valley. The proposed 1200 East Keith Road supportive housing facility is similar to the following 3 North Vancouver facilities. Number 1, 2060 Marine Drive Travel Lodge, managed by Luma Housing Society. As reported in the October 23rd North Shore News, MLA Karen Kirkpatrick confirmed that 40 neighbors are experiencing problems from this facility over the past 3 years. The neighbors have complained about open drug use, children finding drug paraphernalia on the ground, and increased crime and vandalism in the area. The article states families with children are horrified by lawlessness and danger caused by residents of the facility. While the facility operator's lawyer responded to the claims, management provided no long-term permanent solution. Number 2, 2038 Cassano Drive, managed by Hollyburn Services. I've sent photos to BC Housing of this facility and the problems caused over the past 5 years. The photos show broken windows in the house left boarded up with plywood for 6+ months, open drug use by violent occupants visible to neighbors and children. Violent occupants have smashed employee vehicle windows, causing concern for neighbors who park vehicles in driveways. 6 to 8 employee vehicles coming and going 24 hours a day, parking in contravention of bylaws. Masks, gloves, and food garbage, and thousands of cigarette butts strewn on property by employees. Regular weekly, monthly attendance by 4 to 6 RCMP vehicles to address violent occupant issues, verbal abuse and F*U profanity used by violent occupant and employees towards neighbors and their children. Number 3, 705 2nd Street West, managed by Lookout Transitional Housing. I have sent photos to BC Housing of my ad hoc visit on October 15th. The photos show open drug use, residents sleeping in alley, 8 residents on street in distress, 1 bent over in catatonic state, presumably from drug use, public nudity, garbage strewn on street, 6 tipped over abandoned shopping carts used by residents, stolen from nearby businesses, garbage in shopping carts, drug needles strewn around the Mosquito Creek Park entrance signage, a resident sleeping in permanent tent in the entrance of new business to open Valhalla Outfitters. Based on these facts and photos I have sent to BC Housing, it is expected that the 1200 East Keith Road supported housing facility will have the same long-term problems and contribute to crime, drug use, garbage, parking, verbal abuse, and other problems in our community. These facilities, even though BC Housing claims to be staffed 24/7, contribute to increased costs for RCMP resources, bylaws officers, and most importantly, create a safety risk for families and children in the surrounding area. Thank you, Council.
Thank you for your Right. So let's talk about that. So we want to make sure that our council chamber is an area that's free from intimidation and harassment and allows people to share their views. And so it may not seem like it, but sometimes applause, cheering, jeers, those can really intimidate people from coming and sharing their views. And so I want to be very clear that that is not how we run things in our chamber. So please, no applause, no cheering, no jeering, none of that. We want people to feel welcome to come and share their views. Thank you very much. The next speaker I have is Dan Pultra, followed by Bowen Ma. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you, Mayor Little and the District of North Vancouver Council for providing the opportunity to speak at this public hearing. My name is Dan Poulter, and I live in the Culver Hall community, less than 1 kilometer from the site next to the Salop Trail. I'm here as a representative to a group of like-minded constituents that are here today to provide our input on the question before council, which is whether to rezone the lands at the 1200 block of East Keith Road to comprehensive development zoning 146. Specifically for the purpose of constructing a 65-unit supportive housing project that will be operated by BC Housing, Vancouver Coastal Health, and Luma Native Housing Society. Our constituents, which are residents, teachers, property owners, firefighters, police officers, business owners, and community leaders, are acutely aware of the concerns surrounding homelessness and addiction that are in and around our community, and do feel it's important to provide support for those in need. That said, our constituents have serious concerns about the proposals before council based on all the information that has been provided to them through a series of unrecorded information sessions, email correspondence, and one-on-one dialogues with various members of council, DNV staff, BC Housing, Luma, and provincial government representatives. Based on the information provided to our constituents, we have already gathered 225 signatures by way of paper petition that are opposed to their elected officials moving forward with the rezoning application, and more are expressing interest in signing. Our specific reasons for opposing this project. Current crime rates in and around the proposed project already have experienced an increase in property crime since the completion of the new Salop Trail. A full environmental assessment of the project site and surrounding area that was recently rehabilitated have not been completed. A full emergency response assessment has not been completed by first responders. A full traffic assessment of the impacts that this development will have on the single busiest intersection on the North Shore, both during construction and once in operation, has not been completed. As this is a council-led rezoning, we understand a full design and development scope has not been completed, and our constituents are left trusting that it will just all work out. There's been limited consideration on providing the surrounding community with specific safety mandates. It is limited to the site and the individuals within it. The provisions that residents will have the same rights afforded to all others under the Residential Tenancy Act, which has created problematic circumstances for other supportive housing projects, is an issue. Proximity of this project to parklands, schools, daycares, and cannabis and liquor retailers is an added concern. The ask here, as described by Honorable Minister Maher and Mayor Little, is for us to show compassion and help those most vulnerable in the community. I think that is an unfair simplification of the situation at hand, especially given the comments that it is low barrier and an unprecedented size of supportive housing project. While we may not be seen as supportive, we are acutely aware of the safety of our families and young children, which I have too. And while we are aware that this housing project is not going to be full of individuals with substance abuse issues, it was stated in an unrecorded information session that it will be primarily single men that have a higher occurrence of substance and addiction issues. In fact, BC's housing own research states that 50% of individuals in supportive housing have addiction and substance issues, and of those that have gone into supporting housing, only 40% have shown improvement once in supportive housing. We want to help people and provide affordable housing solutions, but not at any cost. The safety and well-being of 65 new residents comes at the safety of our constituents that have elected you, our municipal officials, to be our voice, to make decisions that benefit all of us. I am certain that council is acutely aware that if they push this forward, our constituents will have to ask if the ones they've chosen to elect represent their interests. Now, we do understand that council is in a position where provincial and federal funding is being provided to communities that show progress in helping improve affordability for Canadians, and we want to find a mutually beneficial solution. Our ask of council is as follows. Considering altering the focus of the project from single studio to homes that address housing needs of women, children, and families. Postpone the rezoning process until such time as a full site and development plan is in place. Postpone the rezoning until such time as an environmental assessment has been completed. Postpone the rezoning until a full traffic impact assessment can be completed. Postpone the rezoning until a full emergency response assessment has been completed. Provide a transparent review via an independent consultant and tender of all potential public and private sites for supporting housing projects versus district-led. Complete a full crime and safety assessment and provide a robust safety community plan that includes the surrounding area and parks enforcement, as the current plan is limited to the site only. provide specific requirements of residents of the proposed supportive housing project as it relates to adhere to local laws and bylaws in accordance with the tenancy. If you'll allow me to continue, I only have a couple more points.
If you're drawing to a close, that'd be great.
Yes. So provide the community with assurances that only residents and staff have access to the premises and that it will be limited to 65 occupants, and govern the use of the supporting housing project under a terms of use agreement versus the residential tenancy branch. Again, I'd like to reiterate that we are in support of the project that helps address the affordability concerns that are present in our neighborhood for marginalized Canadians. At this point, we cannot support the motion before council and welcome dialogue to find a solution that is supportive and more family focused. Thank you.
Very much for your comments, Dan Poulter. Folks, you know, we can talk about that again every single time all night long, but all it's doing is it's making people feel intimidated from sharing their views, and that's just not welcome here. The next speaker I have is Bowen Ma, followed by Ali Ahmadi. Bowen Ma is joining us virtually. Bowen, can you hear me?
I can. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today virtually from the territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. My name is Bowen Ma, MLA for North Vancouver Lonsdale, and most of you likely know that I'm currently on leave following the birth of my child. She is 6 days old today, and as a brand new sleep-deprived mother, I had every reason to let this public hearing pass without my attendance. Instead, I am here because of how important I believe this project at 1200 East Keith Road is for our communities, and because Council and Mayor, you're going to go through a very difficult public hearing today. There will be a lot of passionate people, and many concerns will be raised, many of which are based, unfortunately, on prejudice and fear, and you'll have to do the difficult work of discerning what is what. I'm here to support you in making a positive decision on this project and to frankly share in the political responsibility of moving forward, as I know that there will be a lot of people who will be extremely opposed, and they will be very loud, and you'll be under a lot of pressure to stop the project. But as you heard from the presentation, the people who will live in these homes are already here. They're in our shelters, our parkades, our cars and our tents in the streets. These are people who have lived on the North Shore as part of our community for years or sometimes even their entire lives. They're people with disabilities whose doctors are here, seniors whose entire social networks are here, families whose kids go to school here, individuals who might have gone to school with your parents, with you, your kids or grandkids. My office receives calls and referrals for emergency housing all of the time. And the desperate truth and fact of the matter is that we have nothing left to offer people in an emergency housing situation on the North Shore. Forced to send people, individuals, families, including children, seniors, off of the North Shore to find a bed, not even a home, but an emergency bed. Our shelters are full, our transition beds are full, our crisis beds are full, our nonprofits have exceeded their ability to find solutions within the current housing stock. We need more homes, period. And though I understand this project might not be intended for families, it's all connected. More social housing units gives us more space to work with, to upgrade shelter residents into transition rooms, into supportive housing, into community social housing, not necessarily in that order, but we need to create the space we need to be able to absorb and support, even if only for a short time, the ever-growing number of cases that come up when people on the North Shore fall into hard times. The impact of homelessness is widespread. It impacts the house, it impacts our businesses, and it definitely impacts the person being sent out into the cold with no options, with nowhere to go, no hope, driven in many cases to self-medicate and further spiral. The sad truth of it is that whatever challenges some of the individuals may have and the impact that these challenges may have on other neighbors are not made better for anybody by keeping them unhoused. Concerns about needles in the streets or public safety or public disorder and garbage and shopping carts, they only get worse if we withhold projects that provide safe and secure housing. Safe and secure housing is the first step to providing people with stability and a positive path forward in their lives. For a long time, municipalities were left on their own to grapple with these growing issues as previous provincial governments refuse to invest in more social housing. But that's not the case anymore. In our government, you have a funding partner, one that has invested billions of dollars into building more social housing of all kinds across the province and is prepared to invest billions more. We just need the land partners to work with. Land partners like you. This project, this partnership has been years in the making, and I applaud you for your courage in stepping up in this way. You know as well as I do that there are limited sites for projects like this one, and we need to move ahead. This is the kind of project that saves lives and improves communities for everyone. And I'm extremely hopeful that the compassion of North Vancouver will shine through, and as leaders, that this compassion shines through you. So thank you so much for your courage and for sitting and listening through this public hearing tonight.
Thank you very much for your comments, Bowen Ma, and congratulations on the birth of your child. Fantastic news. The next speaker that I have is Ali Ahmadi, followed by Joshua Seville. Ali Ahmadi is joining us here in person. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing. Sorry, not really. I'm going to let him go through. Are you on the speakers list?
No, I just wanted to know how we can show that we support this speech.
You can come out and you can speak in the lineup. You can, everybody here is welcome to join the speakers list. And at the end, you can come up and you can say, I've supported these positions. That's the right time to do it. That's the right way to do it. Okay. I'm sorry, I need to continue on with the hearing. The purpose here is to hear from the members of the public. Welcome, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Ahmadi. I'm resident of Carlton at the club. Thank you for giving me opportunity to speak at this public hearing. Also, I would like to thank Mr. Mike Little, Mayor of North Vancouver District, for his presence at the information session on November 8th, and listening with patience and kindness to the concern and objection of our neighborhood about the proposed supportive housing project at 1200 block at East Keith Road. And notice that more than 90% of neighborhood were opposition of the plan. I'm representative speaker of the Carlton at the Club, 1327 East Keith Road. Our communities appreciate the mayor, councillors, and all public servants for working to maintain our community well-being and safety. I submitted a letter of and petition of to your offices earlier, signed by the majority of residents of our building, who have spent their lifetime contribution to development of this country. Here are outline of some of those concerns and reasons for our opposing the proposed project. The details are in the letter I submitted earlier. The document provided in the information session, this one, we got it in information session, is contained outdated and irrelevant statistics, including the decision has been made based on unreliable sources from cities in North America and Canadian Eastern provinces that have little in common with our community. Most of them from Toronto, Montreal, New York. All the statistics come from resource from there, not from Vancouver studies. The proposal location is to be used to help 65 particular residents suffering from behavioral and mental issue, potentially drug consumers. We do not have enough control over their, who do not have enough control over their behavior. There are hidden, dark, and tricky spots in our neighborhood, which make it ideal place for any crime, such as kindergarten, daycare, elementary school, kids playground, single family home, open backyard, parking lot, and trails are very close. So the proposal plan will jeopardize the safety and will upset the well-being and existing residents. The loss of security is our great worry. It is proven that those individuals with the smallest triggers, their unpredictable behavior can be activated, which lead to conflict of all kinds. The health of our community members will be put in danger as well by living on the edge of drug users and mental illnesses. As you are all aware, many drug addicted individuals find way to fuel their habits, which in many cases has been through theft, harassment, and bodily harm, which as a result cause emotional damage, depression, and anxiety to our neighborhoods. Traffic nightmare is another serious issue. Please consider how development on this land will negatively impact the already heavy traffic we experience every day. In fact, the spot is worst place to construct a building where ambulances, police cars, and staff members' cars will be the reality of everyday living in such a supportive housing building. We wish the district could provide more suitable spot elsewhere for groups who need supporting housing. We highly appreciate your support and attention and request you to reconsider this decision to maintain our community safety and well-being. Your support will give us confidence that we voted for right persons. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments, Ali Ahmadi. The next speaker I have is Joshua Saville, followed by Terry Hendrickson. Joshua Saville is joining us here in person. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Your worship and honorable councilors and my fellow community members. My name is Joshua and I've been a community member in the North Shore since 2016. I'm also a caseworker for the Provincial Constituency Office of Emily Bowen Law. It is from these two sets of experiences that I offer my support for this proposal and that my words come from today. I'm a community-centered person. I care about my community. I'm active in my community and I work and learn in my community. I also have the privilege of helping my fellow community members by connecting them to local services or helping them navigate various issues they encounter with government programs. One of the most common issues, and unfortunately one of the most challenging issues to solve, is finding housing. The lack of affordable and accessible housing. Let me paint everyone a picture of how this typically goes when someone comes in looking for a place to stay for the night. Person bundled with anxiety, usually above the age of 50, and who tell me have a disability.
So, I think someone's accidentally set off their phone here, but actually I would love if Joshua, if you could just speak a little bit louder into the microphone, really
A little bit slower, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll repeat, sorry. A person bundled in anxiety, usually above the age of 50, and who tell me have a disability are also quite often single parents who are tired yet restless. They're led into our office by me through our intercom system. They walk in and look over at me after I greet them, and they hurriedly walk up to my desk and explain that they've been given an eviction notice, or they've been ordered to leave their place, or they've had to flee from a dangerous situation, or they're precariously housed for other reasons and haven't had stable housing for quite some time. If this person needs emergency housing that night, they most likely won't find it. If they need it in a couple of days, they might find it. After a couple of weeks or a month, they might find some sort of stable shelter, but it will not be on the North Shore. And they will have to leave the community that they tell me that they grew up in and went to school in and worked in and started a family in. They then explain to me that they've been to every nonprofit service the North Shore has to offer, and every place has told them that they can't find them space, they can't help them, they should go to this other place instead. Every place refers them to go somewhere else, and they walk in circles, hoping someone has an idea of where to go, and I'm their last stop. I ask them for their personal information and demographics, age and family dynamic, and I make some calls to some of the places we've made relationships with, and who in some cases helped us house constituents in the past. I leave many messages. I then tell the person that they should go to one last stop, which is usually Hollyburn Community Services, because it's right next door, but I will call them when I hear back from the places that I hope can help them. The person leaves and I wait for those calls. The calls come and they deny help because they're full or they're out of money and I fail as community member of ours. And I call the person back and I tell them that I failed. In some cases, they come back after doing desperate things for shelter and we try something different. And sometimes we connect them with someone who can find them a place for a week or two. After that time expires, they're back and they're looking for the same help and everyone else has turned them down again. And I become useless because there is no housing on the North Shore. We are failing our community members. We need to say yes to this project because the simple facts are we need more housing for all demographics of people who live in and support our community, and saying no to this project and other projects will hurt our community. We don't just need more subsidized housing, we need housing of all kinds, but what we lack most are wraparound, service-oriented, supportive housing spaces. I am in support of this project because the people who benefit from supportive housing are here right now needing this service. They deserve to get to stay in their home community just like everyone else. The proposed project offers a unique multi-government and multi-service partnership for the North Shore that will benefit the surrounding community, that will be an excellent partner to local governments and the local community, and that will house people who really need housing. The demand should not be that this is built somewhere else. We should build this and then ask, where's the next one going to be? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Joshua Seville. The next speaker I have is Terry Hendrickson, followed by Michelle Dignon. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for bringing forward this housing proposal. I felt it was important to come tonight to speak on behalf of the many people I know who live in this community who are in favor of this project. Citizens who understand that there are many other people who also live here in our community, near our playgrounds, people who live in unsafe conditions on the streets, in tents in our woods, in their cars and RVs, people who need and want housing. I'm here on behalf of community members who understand we are in an enviable position where we actually have the land and the funding necessary to build a project like this. We can actually help up to 60 people, 60 of our community members, to have a safe place to call home. The people who will be housed here already live here in our community. And if this project is passed and built, they will no longer be one of the homeless because they will have homes just like the rest of us who live here. People aren't homeless because they have something inherently wrong with them. They are homeless for a million reasons, including the fact that we live in one of the most expensive cities in the world, and we have a health care and social service system that has many challenges. A majority of us are 2 paychecks away from being homeless ourselves. One of the reasons I own my home is because I had financial help from my father-in-law. I'm thinking that many of us here have been that lucky. And we have no idea what our neighbors are doing in their homes that are lucky enough to own or rent them. They could be doing good things, bad things, boring things. We have no idea because they're doing it in the privacy of their own home. And isn't that a privilege? To not be judged for whatever it is you're doing or not doing. And if we don't want to see things in public, we need to make sure that people have a home and privacy. I've been astounded at the fear and the fear mongering around this project. At one point, I was wondering what exactly was being proposed with all the discussion about danger and the proximity of this housing to daycares and playgrounds. Statistically speaking, our children are in more danger from family members or people they know than any stranger on the street. And let's put this in perspective. We live in a very safe and affluent community. One project is not going to change that. And especially lately, I've been finding it even harder to take seriously our first world rhetoric about danger and what our children might see, when in other parts of the world, children are literally dying with bombs falling on their heads. Adequate housing is a human right, and under international law is the right of every woman, man, youth, and child to gain and sustain a safe and secure home and community in which to live in peace and dignity. Canada is a signatory of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. We as a society have a responsibility to ensure all our citizens are safe and secure and have the supports they need to survive, especially housing. This is what will help all of us live in a safe community. We are lucky in this instance. We have the funding, the land, and the opportunity where we as a community can actually give 60 people a safe and secure place to call home and create community. Let us be brave and compassionate and caring and frankly smart. Let us show our children that rather than being afraid, we can be a society who welcomes all people and show these community members, our most vulnerable citizens, that they are more than a stigma or stereotype, but that we know they are simply people who need and want a home. I hope that you do the just thing and the smart thing and vote in favor for all the citizens who live here and vote in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Terry Hendrickson. The next speaker I have is Michelle Dignon, followed by Thomas Jones. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. Hi, project team. My primary concern is the safety of the community and our children. Terry, I want to live in the world that you live in. Everything is nice in theory, but I'm here to think about the possible reality. I fully accept and acknowledge that not all supportive housing residents are drug users. I want to put that out there. Where these concerns come from is from learning about the project. Did council know that no criminal checks are done on residents and there are no restrictions on drug and alcohol use at the facility? A safe injection site will be provided with a judgment-free environment. The included 5 complex care units are specifically for people with severe mental illness and/or those with addiction issues. No supply of addiction substances will be given to these residents by the facility. So tell me, councillors, if you have people with serious addictions that are not being provided with supply of their addictive substances at the facility, where are they going to get these substances from? We have been provided no evidence to ease concerns that the answer to this question will be outside of the facility. As stated in the proposal, LUMA will be managing the supportive housing. LUMA is currently managing a facility on Capilano Road, the infamous Travelodge. I am well aware that this is a converted hotel facility and that this proposal is a purpose-built facility. Concerningly, LUMA states that in their opinion, the Travelodge facility is well managed. This is in strong contrast to the surrounding residents complaining of drug dealers in the streets and needles being found in the surrounding parks and bus stops. When asked about these issues that are occurring outside of the facility, LUMA responded, well, they may be uncomfortable to witness, but they aren't criminal. This again, councillors, is what we are concerned about. We have heard a lot about this helping our local homeless and keeping them close to family. According to BC Housing, LUMA moved a number of residents from a facility they were managing in Vancouver to the one at Capilano. And LUMA have openly stated that they plan to then move residents from the Capilano facility to the Keith Road site if it goes ahead. So we've been told this facility will help the alleged homeless population of the North Shore that Terry was talking about. But the reality is that this facility is likely not to accomplish this. The current information available does not provide the community with the confidence that safety will be addressed adequately. LUMA is quick to mention the design safety features like 24/7 surveillance, monitored entry, and the resident sign an RCA lease. This does not provide confidence as other supportive housing operators, such as Atria Property Management, who have supportive housing in Vancouver, have stated that supportive housing operators do not have the tools to address the prevalence of drugs and weapons inside buildings. They are unable to search for weapons or prohibit guests because the buildings are covered under the Residential Tenancy Act. We have been told how this site was considered because it was buffered from the community. It seems the strip of 29 single-family residential homes right next to the site, of which I am an owner, and are not being considered in this proposal. My children go to the elementary school 200 meters away from this facility. 160 kids from our school alone are in and out of Lynmouth Ave and use Bridgman Park on a daily basis. When I raised concerns at one of the online meetings about street and park safety, I was specifically answered by Kevin at Luma with, "I don't want to predict negative situations that are 2 to 2.5 years out." I find it unacceptable and disrespectful that valid concerns are not being taken seriously and treated so dismissively. If we have a wet facility where residents with addiction issues reside, drug use is openly accepted and no drugs are provided on site, it's obvious there's going to be issues. The location for this proposal is clearly not a good fit for the community. Please hear the overwhelming concerns of your residents that elected you to represent us. If our voices are not heard, I have concerns regarding what is being demonstrated to our children about the democratic framework that our country is based on. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Speaker I have is Thomas Jones, followed by Simon Bodlak.
Hello.
Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. Obviously, I'm not Thomas Jones. That's just the name I gave. I didn't want to give my real name out. I'm just gonna tell you.
So I'll just be clear about that. So when your comments are recorded by the clerk, they'll be under the name Thomas Jones.
That's fine,
in there.
no problem.
Yeah.
I was a homeless myself for about 2 years, and I know how the Lookout Society, which was I think it's 702 and 702 First Street, so by Bewick, right by the Oasis car wash there, and I figured out how they make profit from homeless people, and that's how they've been growing and buying. I think they bought like 6 high-rises in 2-3 years or something. So they're basically a growing society. It's really interesting how they profit from homeless people by passing them around, getting more, showing that they have more homeless people and getting funding for it.
These are publicly owned facilities that we're talking about today.
They're partners with they're combined with BC Housing.
Publicly owned facilities, yeah.
Yeah, okay, but they're growing, so they're doing good in business, basically.
No, they're subsidized by the taxpayers.
What I'm trying to, anyways. Either way, while I was in there, they were not helping me get back on my feet whatsoever. All they do is they keep you down there so they can continue to say that we're aiding people, which they're not. That's all I'm trying to say. And I live really not far from this zone that we're talking about. There is drug dealers. As right now, there's one house down there that's I don't know. Basically, they look like they're always high, listening to loud music, and there's always police coming there almost every other night. There's cars coming back and forth. If you just stand on the block there for 5 minutes, they're already selling drugs. So bringing this building over there is going to increase that quite a bit more. What else? I just took some notes. Oh yeah, and I was also really curious to see how come West Vancouver doesn't have anything like this. Everything comes to North Vancouver, but West Vancouver has 0. So maybe it's a good idea to put this over there. That's just my thought. Anyways, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, sorry, folks. Sorry, Chris. It's not welcome. It's intimidating other people from sharing their views. And if it's continuing to interrupt the meeting, I'll call a recess. The council will leave and go to the back room. We'll wait, we'll come back. We'll try to reestablish order in the room. But if people want to keep interrupting the meeting and intimidating their neighbors by doing that, then eventually we're going to have to find other means to gain control of the meeting again. But it's just wasting everybody's time. Every time I have to come in and say, please don't do that, it means that more speakers aren't able to come up to the microphone. So please have a little respect for your neighbors. Simon Bodlak, you're the next speaker. You are welcome to the microphone there, followed by Don Peters. And when you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing. Welcome.
May I bring an image up onto the screen, Your Worship?
Yes, yeah, you just have to fire the thumb drive in. A folder should pop up for you. Hopefully it's not in Apple. We had problems getting Apple pictures to run the other day.
Oh.
Okay, welcome. Go ahead. Yeah, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm speaking on behalf of the owners of East 8th Street and East Keith Road, as shown highlighted blue on the screen. I am a father of 4 children under the age of 10. We submitted a letter to Mayor and Council outlining our reasons for opposing the project and encourage all members of Council to review the letter along with the referenced news articles. As a mix of seniors, single women, and families with young children, we are concerned about the risk this project poses on our safety, crime in the neighborhood, and our property values. We hope our opposition and that of others that live nearby will cause Council to reconsider this use in this area. The DNB's rental and affordable housing strategy advises Council to focus on the needs of low and low to moderate income earning households that are most likely to face challenges in finding appropriate and affordable housing. Supportive housing is not identified as an area of focus in the strategy. The strategy advises Council to ensure new rental includes a range of units to suit the needs of families and other households. The proposed project has 65 studio apartments. There is no range of units and not a single unit is suitable for families. The Housing Needs Update report noted a waitlist of 768 applicants for subsidized housing versus only 53 applicants for supportive housing. The demographics for subsidized housing were mostly seniors, followed by families and people with disabilities. The proposed project is not designed for seniors, families, or people with disabilities. Given that 60 units of supportive housing for women are being developed elsewhere in the district, it would appear this project is primarily targeting homeless, unemployed adult males with mental health or substance use supports. Based on the staff report to Council dated September 18th, 2023, it appears the perceived need is arising from the, quote, ongoing challenge with having only one shelter on the North Shore, end quote. I understand that Council has been made aware that crime is rampant around the Travel Lodge operation and the City of North Vancouver shelter, with residents in the vicinity experiencing frequent thefts. We encourage Council to interview RCMP officers who are dealing with these challenges. We heard in the first reading that the proposed housing operator has a history of not cooperating with police. Has this allegation been investigated? How involved has the RCMP been in this process? It is commonly reported that most of the homeless population in Vancouver comes from outside of Vancouver. Does this project actually serve the needs of the residents of North Vancouver? Will the criminal history of residents, if applicable, be disclosed to the community? While we acknowledge there is a need for supportive housing in Greater Vancouver, it is irresponsible to conjugate 65 adult males, 5 of whom will have the most complex mental health and/or addiction challenges outside of prison, beside a single-family home community with elderly, single women, and young children. Single-family homes are the least safe form of housing, especially our secluded cluster of homes which lacks eyes on the street or any form of crime prevention through environmental design. Urban planning policies may seek to whitewash the risks associated with mental health and/or addiction issues, but the general populace, police, and first responders are not ignorant of these risks, and we are not willing for our children to be subjected to them. If this proposal proceeds despite our opposition, we implore Council to do the following. 1, adopt a bylaw requiring all housing operators working within the DNB to cooperate with the RCMP. 2, interview RCMP officers dealing with the Travel Lodge and City of North Vancouver shelter to understand the harm this project may cause to the surrounding neighborhood and measures that can be taken to protect the community. 3, review the proposed unit mix provider and form of housing to ensure this project best meets the needs of district residents. 4, amend the OCP designation of our properties from Res 5 to CRMU 3. We are concerned that the liquidity and value of our homes will plummet if this project is approved. A redesignation would pave the way for a safer form of housing to be constructed adjacent to this use, while potentially providing a way for us to relocate within the district and continue to live and raise our families in the community we love. Though our homes are designated Res 5, developers are not knocking at our doors as the designated density is insufficient to make it a profitable endeavor. A high-rise designation would potentially provide enough scale for a developer to consider an assembly and rezoning application. High-rise is the safest form of development as it minimizes the building footprint, access points at grade, while greatly increasing eyes on the street. For many reasons as outlined in our letter, our homes are an ideal location within the district for additional density and much needed housing. In short, we oppose the proposed project and hope you will agree that anything that concerns the safety of our children and communities should not be fast-tracked. If approving in whole or in part, we ask that you will please diligently consider our requests. Having some knowledge of this council, we trust that you will. Thank you for your consideration and service to our community.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Simon Bodlack. The next speaker that I have is Don Peters, followed by Deborah Buxton. Don Peters is joining us in person here. Welcome, and when you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. I'm almost inclined, to throw away my prepared remarks, Your Worship. I was going to tell you all about the Community Housing Action Committee, and we've been in place for 20 years, and we've been committed to finding more and better housing for the people of the North Shore. But in the last 5 years, I would say, homelessness has become really a scourge on almost every municipality you can think of. And I listened to Mr. Fox very carefully, our first speaker this evening, and he described really a most unhappy situation in a number of places on the North Shore. But he also had some good ideas. And so have some of the other people who sat here tonight and have told you that they do not want this project to go ahead. But the Community Housing Action Committee and I unanimously want this project very much to go ahead. But we, and I'm sure you are, warned that there are some serious issues involved, not just with this particular project, because I think the project is magnificent, but there are some serious problems afoot, really, in our neighborhoods, and turning this project down is not going to solve any of those problems. In fact, I would suggest to you that tonight is really about compassion. The people who are at risk here, the homeless and the near homeless, whom we see at our offices at Cap Mall far too often these days. These people are North Shore residents. They live in some bad places. They don't want to be there. They would like to come in from the cold. They would like to have dry beds and food and safety. I would be willing to bet some serious money that there are some people sitting behind me tonight, councillors, who are hoping that there is going to be other options for a daughter or a son, or even an uncle, a grandparent, because right now the situation is pretty awful for a lot of people in our community. But I do believe that this is about compassion, and it's about care, and it's about safety, and it's about real support for those people who are falling down and hurting and whose families are hurting. Through no fault of their own, really, I think by accident or just plain circumstance, far too many of our neighbors and our family members need our help. This really is an extraordinary opportunity, Council, for us to stand up for those in this room, those waiting at home, or more likely waiting out in the cold, who are homeless and hungry. but they are North Shore residents. And they're miserable, and they're probably frightened. But we have a site here that's got government funding. It's got expert staff going to be on site. And let's remember that that is what I think we are about here tonight, is trying to find a way to make things better, not to push people down the road because of all of those things that Mr. Fox and some of the other people have mentioned. And they're real. And I hope that what you take out of tonight is going to really steel you in finding a way to improve housing for the less fortunate on the North Shore. I thank you, Your Worship, and I also want to thank Ms. Guppy for an extraordinary report. And I listened carefully to the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Don Peters. The next speaker I have is Deborah Buxton, followed by Thomas Wojcicka.
Hello. Yay, democracy.
Welcome. When you are comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
I sent in a little letter today because I was quite shocked and surprised that this was being opposed. I was like taken aback. I didn't realize that that was an issue. And I wrote a very short letter, and I thought I'd just quickly go over it so that people here could hear it as well, and then expand on it. As a 70-year-old woman who fell between the cracks, and it's very emotional, so I'll just rein it in here. I ended up living in her car in North Vancouver for a year. I am sending my support to the building of this new supportive housing project. I learned the hard way just how challenging it is to find housing on my limited pension and with health issues that have made it impossible to work in a real way any longer. I was able to find a temporary place at the Travel Lodge Motel that's been talked about a lot tonight. I live there. It's in the Lions Gate under Luma. I moved there in May this year, and they have fed me once a day. They've housed me. But now I have learned that it will be developed into a high-rise and townhouses, so soon I will once again be houseless. I no longer have a car, so I will be on the street or in a tent. I never saw myself ending up like this in my 70s. I'll be 72 in March. I want to share the truth of the necessity of this project and also assure the local residents that I have seen firsthand here in Lionsgate that every concern of the surrounding residents has been addressed and dealt with. Noise, gatherings, buggies, etc., all shut down. It's right now, it's very calm and respectful. And I expect that East Keith to be the same or even better, as they are aware of local concerns and they have the ability to deal with them in a professional manner from the outset. So I just want to expand on a little bit that from my understanding, I did listen to the last Zoom call and I listened attentively today. I understand there's going to be good security. It's going to be totally different than the Travel Lodge, which was basically just a desperate measure during COVID. They took in 15 people first and it expanded to over 50 people. I've had my issues. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I buy the odd lottery ticket because I do have hope. But I haven't been happy with being mixed in with people that, I have an education. Most of the people I deal with and live with don't, but I have just learned how important it is to, somebody here, many people tonight have mentioned compassion. Bo and Ma, thank God for her as an MP. And some of the other ones, Michelle and the last speaker, Simon, mentioned compassion. And I think there's other C words too. I wrote some of them down. Clarity, let's get some more clarity. So this is wonderful, this hearing's wonderful. We are getting clarity. And the big thing here is really fear versus the C's, compassion, communication. And that's been mentioned a lot by BC Fed people and the people that have started this project is communication, community. I think that because the community spoke up so well, so strongly to the Luma people, they got their ass in gear and cleaned that crap up. They got rid of those buggies. Those were not people that lived there. They were people that were coming from downtown, from the shelter, from the tent camp down by the river, and just hanging out. And nobody said anything, so they stayed there with their buggies. So they've been told they're not welcome. It took a few days, maybe a few weeks, but they're gone. And I'm really happy about that too. So the other C word is courage that Bowen Moss said today, and it's going to take courage. Things are not the same as they were before. Things have changed, and we have to have the courage of our convictions. The people here tonight, many of them have said over and over, we want this project, we want to help people, but not in my backyard. And I lived in Deep Cove when I was younger. I owned a home there, and when they were going to build a school across the street, I sold my house and got the hell out of there. So I understand what NIMBYism is. But unfortunately, we have got to shift and change with the times. Look at people like me that fell through the cracks. I never saw myself being here. So I have 3 seconds. I just want to say thank you. And thank you for Councillor Catherine Pope for inviting me here tonight to say my piece.
Very much for your comments, Deborah Buxton. The next speaker I have is Thomas Wawitka, followed by Tarne Razagi. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name's Thomas Wabitka. I live at 680 Sealand Crescent. I live down the street from the proposed site. And in hearing a lot of comments tonight, I'll try not to repeat anything that's already been said, but I came here to talk about 2 things. Well, actually 2.5, but one of which was community and the other was discrimination. My family's lived along Lynn Creek since 1962. I'm 3rd generation North Vancouver. I was born at Lionsgate Hospital. I've lived and worked on the North Shore my entire life. I care deeply about this community, and so does my family. I'm here because of what I believe in. My family developed one of the largest stocks of rental housing on the North Shore, the Blue Ridge Garden Apartments, and they operated it as a family business for many decades. My grandparents were big believers in housing for people, regular people. The last number of decades, we've watched deterioration on the North Shore in providing for all corners of our community. I don't think there's anybody here tonight for or against who could argue with that. Growing up, my mother was a registered nurse at Lionsgate Hospital. She worked in public outreach for newborn children throughout our community and witnessed horrors of people who, like Deborah Buxton, slipped through the cracks. I have fortunate enough to have a business that I operate in East Vancouver at 700 block East Kingsway. I'm 2 units down from a supportive housing business or supportive housing unit, as well as another supportive housing unit on Fraser Street, which is part of the John Howard Society. Every day I go to work, I get to enjoy a safe neighborhood, 3 playgrounds, 200 meters away, elementary school, 2 daycares. Do you know how many issues that we have with public safety on a daily basis? None. 0. None. It's not an issue. Discrimination. All I've listened to tonight are people who are judged before they've even lived here. I spent a good couple of weeks doing my own research. I can't find anything credible that has been published by any credible. I'm sorry, I'm just a little taken back.
The Washington State Chamber of Commerce, University of Michigan, University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, the Vancouver Police Chief himself have all commented on these issues over the years. There's very little connection with increased criminality and homelessness. In fact, right across the board, people that are homeless and that people who are well housed have similar levels of criminal behavior. Just because somebody is homeless does not mean that they should be judged. They are going to make our neighborhoods more dangerous. It's my experience that living in this community, that is just not the case. The little half point that I wanted to discuss was the location. I drive by the site twice a day. It's a site of many tall weeds. It belongs to all of us in the District of North Vancouver. There's nothing there right now. It's a great location for something like this, and we're fortunate enough to be able to provide that. My reason for showing up tonight is to remind us all that we have the power to make a difference and to think about the vulnerable people in our community. Look at the weather outside. There's homeless people that live in my community right now. I walk by them all the time. You guys have the power to change that. So I ask you, please think about them. Thank you.
Very much for your comments, Thomas Wojciechowski. The next speaker I have is Tarana Razagi, followed by Cameron Strukoff. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. My name is Tarane. I'm one of the owners of the Cotton at the Club building, who is representing some of the residents of this building as well. I would like to thank Mr. Mayor and all those who provided the public with this opportunity to have a voice in this public hearing. I would like to begin with, nobody opposes the necessity of making supporting housing for the homeless and below low-income people, and this is not a matter of discrimination. Homelessness is obviously a very important social concern, but in order to solve this issue, we should not make other problems for the other people who have worked hard to live based on the standards of a civilized society, to live a happy, healthy, peaceful, and normal life. In other words, the decision makers should not disturb the peace and tranquility of a majority to solve a problem for a minority. Mr. Mayor, public servants, in order to resolve homelessness, one way is supportive housing, of course. But to do so, we need to have enough data as well as to plan for social and environmental infrastructure projects based on supportive studies and researches. We have reviewed and researched the supportive housing development plan. There is not a single valid Vancouver-supported research results showing such projects have at any level elevated or contributed to the well-being and safety of any community. All the promotional documents cited outdated reports from utterly irrelevant and remote cities in North America and Canadian Eastern provinces. And I wonder why we don't have a single local report. All I want to say is the document indicates the decision has been made based on unreliable sources, which necessitates a comprehensive reconsideration of plans and decisions. As mentioned, supportive houses is necessary, but it must be built at a location with enough accessible supporting means. Our neighborhood has been a peaceful and calm area, making it exposed, vulnerable, and unprepared to embrace the possible residents of the new buildings. Richmond Park is not patrolled compared with parks near such complexes, and our building's large parkade has no gates or security. The supportive housing end users are potentially engaged with issues such as drug consumption, possible violence, aggression, mental problems, and misdemeanors of any sort. The target residents of the proposed project will not be happy either because the services they need are not accessible to them. And based on the residents' previous experience with such cases, We can unequivocally say the project will burden us with severe issues. My neighbors, public servants, Mr. Mayor, this project will have dire impact on the neighborhood. The recent development on the east side of Lynn Creek have absorbed new families and elevated the community, but the proposed plan will jeopardize the safety and will upset the progress. The community needs a library, for example. The nearest one is far away, and the location could be alternatively used for such purposes. The location is to be used to help the 65 particular residents linger on at the expense of endangering hundreds of children and their families living in the neighborhood. Those young people are the future of our city and country, and we owe our peace today to their parents and senior residents of the neighborhood. Mr. Mayor, what would be your response if the living conditions of the existing residents are compromised and their safety is taken away as a consequence of your decision? To conclude, after comprehensive review of the project document, history of similar cases, and deliberation, we express our opposition, anguish, and concern about this project. We also propose to build a library or a medical center that is absolutely needed in our densely populated area as an alternative solution. We highly appreciate your support and attention, heartening us that we voted for the right people to manage our city. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. The next speaker that I have is Cameron Strukoff, followed by Linda Sue. I did just want to note that at about 9 o'clock, we're going to have a bit of a bio break and leg stretch for about 5 minutes at that time. So if I'm looking at the list right now, that means we'll probably get through to Stephanie Wilson, and then we're going to take about a 5-minute break at that time, and then we'll resume the hearing once we have a bit of a leg stretch. Welcome, Cameron Strukoff. When you're ready, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. Mayor Mike Little, esteemed council members and fellow residents, I stand before you today as a dedicated member of this community. I represent not only my concerns, but those of over 927 fellow residents who've voiced their worries in opposition to this development through my petition. We all share a common concern regarding the proposed supportive housing project at 1200 East Keith Road. It is essential to clarify from the outset that our opposition is not directed towards the noble cause of housing the homeless. Our primary concern lies with the decision to construct a low barrier facility in close proximity to residential areas, schools, daycares, playgrounds, without the necessary nearby support services crucial for the success of such a project. The chosen site, lacking essential nearby support facilities such as mental health services, addiction support, safe drug use facilities, hospitals, and income and disability assistance services, save for a few residents in complex care, is not conducive to the well-being of both the residents of the facility as well as the existing community. Placing a supportive housing project in an area without the required infrastructure poses a significant challenge and raises valid concerns about the impact on the community's welfare. Safety concerns within the building and the potential for increased crime rates and open drug use are not unfounded. Given the issues experienced at similar sites mentioned this hearing, including the Travel Lodge, which is opened by or operated by the same entity, Luma, in North Vancouver. Recent incidents, including fatalities and numerous complaints of open drug use and vandalism, highlight the urgent need for a more comprehensive and considered approach to supportive housing. Our community is already underserved by law enforcement, and existing gaps in the justice system's ability to address and prevent crime and illegal drug use further compound our concerns. The safety of our community, especially our children and residents, as well as nearby daycares and the upcoming Clovery Lee Elementary School, and neighbors directly beside and insecure dwellings are at risk with the hasty approval of an ill-conceived supportive housing project. Given these pressing issues, we urge the mayor and council to reject the zoning changes and collaborate with BC Housing to conduct a more thorough evaluation of better supported sites. Prioritizing subsidized and affordable housing for families and seniors in this neighborhood should be at the forefront of our collective efforts for this neighborhood. However, if against our collective wishes, the zoning changes are approved, We implore the council to consult with the RCMP and allocate additional resources, including a community police station and additional mental health and addiction support services. A comprehensive community safety plan is imperative, not only to ensure the security of the new residents, but also to safeguard the surrounding neighborhood. Let us learn from the past mistakes, particularly those associated with the travel lodge site, and ensure that similar issues are avoided at all costs. In conclusion, we appreciate your time and consideration on this crucial matter. Our shared goal is to foster a safe and supportive community, and we believe that a more thoughtful and inclusive approach to supportive housing is essential in achieving this objective. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Cameron Strukov. The next speaker I have is Linda Sue, followed by Lisa McDonald. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. The speakers before me talk about compassion, community and safety, and family, but no one talk about the seniors who are still working. I lived and worked for over 10 years in the area, just a stone's throw away from the site chosen to build this supportive housing. I'm 65 years old and live by myself. I'm working, I have 2 part-time jobs. I do not drive, so I walk to work. Most of my shifts start in the afternoon and finish in the evening. 7 to 8 months of the year, I walk home in the dark. According to a lot of people talk about this travel lodge. And I read this article, which just surfaced about 3-4 weeks ago. And maybe it's a cleanup now, but the news is not very good, talking about the community surrounding the area have experienced increased crime and vandalism, as well as drug use openly around the property. My case is not unique. I do have neighbors who are working and are seniors. And we all try to work hard to be self-reliant, keep roof over our heads and food on the table. I understand the need for supportive housing for some people who are in need of care and support. I also want to live in a community that is safe and secure. And however, at this point of my life, if the house is built and if we have this travel lodge scenario happening, I don't want to live my life in the fear. And I don't want to look around my shoulders all the time. And I don't have the means to move somewhere else. And I don't think it's too selfish of me to think that way at this stage of my life. And for these reasons, I respectfully ask you please look other locations to build this house. District is a big area. There are other lands district owns can be redesigned, zoned to build your house. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much for your comments, Linda Sue. The next speaker I have is Lisa McDonald, followed by Stephanie Wilson. Lisa McDonald joining us here in person. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thanks for having me. My name is Lisa McDonald. My family and I live in the neighborhood that is close to the new site. And I also have a work history in both healthcare and in real estate. So I perhaps have some unique perspectives on the matter. Several vantage points, let's say. I've worked alongside an admired surgeon who became an addict and lived under a bridge. And I know of a person who lived under a bridge as an addict and who's become a prolific philanthropist with help, with support. Statistically, up to 50% of addicts have become so after a workplace injury. These were productive members of our society. If those here don't think that life could take a turn for them or for a loved family member that may cause them to need supportive housing, they are wrong. I've heard many are concerned about the impacts on them. The things that cause someone to have a need for supportive housing aren't pretty. This facility's goal is to improve those things. From the comments made tonight, it seems like the only acceptable location would be something akin to Alcatraz. I ask if your child, your brother, your mother, your sister found themselves with a mental health challenge or an addiction, would you want them, their only option to be a shelter bed and never a guarantee that one would be there? Or would you want them shoved aside? Would you rather they have a supportive community close to family and friends that could provide support and the security that the home will be there for long term so they can focus on getting well? We've heard people talk about protecting their children. Has anyone thought about the children of the people who need that supportive housing? Don't they deserve for their parent to become well so they can come home too? Despite what some seem to think, their needs, their wants, their desires for a sense of safety does not trump the people who need this home. And a measure of any good community is how we take care of our most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Lisa McDonald. The next speaker, and then we'll have a 5-minute break, is Stephanie Wilson. And then when we return from the 5-minute break, it will be Chrissy Schmidt. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Stephanie Wilson, and I'm speaking in support of rezoning to allow the 1200 East Keith development. I can appreciate that change brings fears, but fears aren't necessarily real. Each one of us has a responsibility to unlearn fears based on stigma or propaganda, and there is a significant amount of propaganda to confront in conversations around homelessness. These fears have been exploited by far-right interests in BC, leveraging sensationalized stories to justify authoritarian politics and increased policing. Aaron Gunn has made a career out of poverty porn with his films Vancouver is Dying and Canada is Dying, both of which manipulate unaffordable housing and a poison drug supply, among other crises, to attack progressive politics and liberalism. Groups like Pacific Prosperity Network unite right and far-right political activists with the goal of shifting political cultures to their version of the right, which often includes those engaging in white supremacy and right-wing extremism. The impact of this right and far-right organizing has been profound. It is not a coincidence that crime and policing suddenly took center stage during the 2022 municipal elections. Since then, supervised consumption and overdose prevention sites have closed. Inhumane street sweeps and decampments have criminalized poverty, and those providing safe supply have been jailed. Not everyone in need of non-market housing has a mental illness or substance use problem. The most common causes of homelessness in Metro Vancouver are The most common causes of homelessness in Metro Vancouver are unaffordability and loss of employment. However, the loudest opposition to 1200 East Keith focuses on the influx of supposed problems into the neighborhood. If you are concerned about people in your neighborhood that experience mental health or substance use problems and homelessness, then the only logical response is the implementation of Housing First, because Housing First models demonstrably change lives and give people the safety and security they need to work towards recovery. Study after study supports Housing First, including results from the At Home Shisswa project site in Vancouver. Research also shows that rates of mental illness and substance use are so profoundly linked to housing instability, not because those factors make people unable to live in a home, but because housing instability worsens mental health and substance use. Every single person in these chambers knows someone who has been impacted in some way by mental illness, a substance use problem, or both. Many of us have personally navigated these challenges or cared for loved ones. And when you know that pain, you cannot sit by and watch the status quo create more pain and more heartache. I have personally experienced hidden homelessness. I was lucky and eventually found market housing, but many in my situation are not so fortunate. When you experience housing instability, every second of your waking existence is focused on basic survival. Yet those who are already comfortably housed often say that unhoused people somehow must prove that they are worthy of a home by recovering on their own in an environment which is the antithesis of recovery. Recovery happens when people have a home, not the other way around. To recognize the worth and dignity of another human simply because they are a human and therefore worthy of care and respect is a revolutionary act. Please be that light cutting through the darkness and shine on those who are treated as unwanted or undesirable so that they can see that they are worthy and that they belong in North Vancouver. My North Vancouver includes everyone. It includes people who use substances because I know that substances are a way to get through the day when you've run out of hope. It includes people struggling with mental health problems because I know that those who need support the most often have the hardest time accessing the right help. It includes people navigating unstable housing or homelessness because I know that over 50% of Canadians are only a few missed paychecks away from the loss of their home. But most of all, my North Vancouver includes everyone because I want a real community based on respect and shared solidarity. Supportive housing at 1200 East Keith won't solve all problems, but it's the first of many steps. So I don't simply support the approval of the 1200 East Keith development. I welcome its residents into the neighborhood so that they may also find a way to rest, heal, and share their own light. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments, Stephanie Wilson. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, about a 5-minute break, which takes us to just after 9 o'clock when we'll resume. My friend, the mayor of the city of North Vancouver, always says as a community health nurse that sitting is the new smoking. So we encourage everybody to have a leg stretch, maybe washrooms are across the hall, something to get more comfortable. And then we'll resume at about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to resume the hearing. So if people could take their seats. Well, we have 2 members of council that are going to join us again very shortly. But I did just want to pass along. So the council did just confer quickly, just looking at where we're at in the public speaking tonight. This is just the first list. There may be other people who want to add their names to the list. So I just wanted to let you know that we will be having a second night as well. We're going to go till about 10:30 tonight. And then the public hearing will resume at 7 o'clock right back here in this room tomorrow night. And we'll carry on from there. I did just want to say at that point, so we go through first-time speakers, then council has the ability to ask some clarifying questions of the presentations that have come in. And so that will happen after first-time speakers, and then there will be an opportunity for second-time speakers and potentially third before we exhaust the public speaking time. And so just so you're aware, we're going to go till 10:30 tonight. I can guarantee you that we will be doing we will continue on to a second night tomorrow night. If you are on the speakers list tonight and you can't stay with us till the end, I'll start the meeting tomorrow by going over the people who couldn't stay on the list to make sure that, you know, if I understand if you have to go, you have to go. I'm not telling, I don't want everybody to go because we've got to get through a bunch of speakers tonight. And so, so we're going to resume the hearing then at this point. The first speaker at this point is Chrissy Schmidt, followed by Peter Thanis. Can I come tomorrow? You can come tomorrow, yes. If you want to let the clerk know or your name, we can make sure that you're on the withdrawn list, and we'll check back on the withdrawn list tomorrow if you want. Either way, we'll go over all of the missed names anyway. Welcome, Chrissy Schmidt. Oh. Oh. Bad step. Okay.
I'm okay. Okay. I can walk here. No, I'm with him. My name is Clerk.
We'll put your name on the list at the start.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah. No.
You get police and fire. Take it. Take the police and fire. We're here.
Well, I hope Mr. Bedrosian is okay. We look forward to his comments starting the night off tomorrow night. At this time, we'll return to Chrissy Schmidt.
All right, thank you so much. I'm actually not here today to speak for or against the project. I'm here to propose a compromise because they haven't been talked about yet.
Sorry, I need folks to cut the chatter behind. We can't hear the presenter. Ms. Schmidt, go ahead.
All right. Earlier this year, the province mandated Bill 43, requiring the district to set and meet target housing requirements, including supportive housing, where the province will step in and do it for us. However, the 1200 block East Keith Road project has raised significant concerns from the community, as we've heard about this evening. So what can we do about it? We've put ourselves into a box that says supportive housing needs need to look like this. But as the previous speakers have addressed, the current model for supportive housing isn't working. We need to stop taking the same approach and expecting a different outcome. If the purpose of supportive housing, according to BC Housing, is to help individuals move beyond temporary shelters or street homelessness to more secure housing, gain greater self-reliance, and achieve personal and housing goals, the Housing First model that provides safe supply and allows on-premise drug use is not the only way to achieve this goal. Why can't we think outside the box and try to do things differently at East Keith Road? People, silence your phones. All right. The 2023 Metro Vancouver homeless count in Greater Vancouver, which came out at the beginning of October, reported that when respondents were asked what caused their most recent housing loss, the most common response was that they did not have enough income. That was 35%, not because of substance abuse or mental health illness. Where do these people go? The same report found that seniors are being disproportionately impacted by homelessness due to increasing food and housing costs. Again, not because of addiction or mental illness. Where do these seniors go? The fact is, not all homeless people are the same, yet we're using a supportive housing model that treats them like they are. We're following a model that says, regardless of affordability being the primary reason for homelessness, we're going to house everyone together. But the truth is, these individuals aren't going to be comfortable living in a building that caters to addicts, and they shouldn't have to be. If I was stuck couch surfing and you said, I can give you supportive housing next to addicts, I'd say, no thanks, I'll stick to my couch. And just like all homeless people are not the same, all communities are not the same, which is why the East Keith Road project needs to take a different approach. My perspective is this isn't a community that's struggling with a drug problem. Not everyone in this room sees that the same way. The 2023 Metro Vancouver homeless count also found that most people experiencing homelessness lost their housing in the community that they currently reside in. And if the province is trying to address each community's local needs, doesn't that tell us that the primary group the East Keith Road project should be assisting is those who are homeless because of an affordability issue and not because of substance abuse? So why can't this project be the solution? The District of North Vancouver has an opportunity to step up as a leader and pilot a different model of supportive housing, one that is purpose-built for our community, one designed to house individuals and families experiencing or facing homelessness who do not struggle with addictions, one that embraces a zero-tolerance drug policy so that the largest group of homeless people have an option that they feel safe to take advantage of. One that I just learned from Deborah, who shared her story earlier, is called high barrier supportive housing. So it does exist in Greater Vancouver. By taking this approach to supportive housing at East Keith Road, we can take a big step towards addressing homelessness in our community while avoiding the concerns that come with drugs and complex mental health issues. Tonight, I am not saying no to supportive housing at East Keith Road. I'm saying no to BC Housing's proposed model in our community. I urge council to be leaders, ask the hard questions of why isn't this model working, do the hard work of how can we fix it, and build a community for our people, individuals, families, and seniors who are struggling financially, and leave a legacy you and I can be proud of. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Chrissy Schmidt. The next speaker I have is Peter Thanis, followed by Marty Blundell. All right, folks, we need you to turn your cell phones off. It's quite disruptive for the speakers. Welcome.
Okay. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I'm sure the things I'm going to say are probably the same as everybody else. Sorry. Yeah.
No, thanks.
My wife and I live nearby. We have 4 children. We go to Bridgman Park. Often my cousin and my wife's first cousin live down the street as well. And I mean, for us, it's going to be a no-go zone if this goes through. Okay. We can talk about obviously the collateral damage of, you know, what these people, well, what this tenant demographic may end up doing in the parks and things like that. I don't want to generalize, okay? But it's inevitable. It's not something that's like, okay, maybe, you know, we'll find drug paraphernalia in the parks, or maybe the crime will, you know, increase. You know, maybe there'll be an additional load on police and fire, which I think is not fair to them, right? But I wanted to talk about something else that maybe council hasn't thought about, and that's the like problems that don't exist now that could be problems in the future. And that is, I think currently there's a, if I can read this correctly, there's a judicial challenge in BC Supreme Court right now. And it's basically challenging the ban on drug use in public spaces. They're saying it's unconstitutional. And my question to council here tonight is, what happens if that actually is successful? What happens if that ban in parks is quashed in BC Supreme Court? And what type of a problem do you foresee happening in our parks in North Vancouver? And is the risk worth it? I mean, these people deserve housing. They come from unfortunate backgrounds. God bless them, you know. But what protections do we have for those who are tax-paying, law-abiding citizens, who have families and children and these types of things? And what provisions do you have in your toolkit that can prevent problems like that from happening in the future? What happens if that gets quashed? What type of a problem are we going to have? What type of a problem is the police and fire department going to have after that? So that's all I have to say. I'm obviously against it, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter Thanis. Next speaker I have is Marty Blundell, followed by Hazen Colbert, although I thought he indicated he was withdrawing his comment, but we'll check and see if he's attached to the meeting. So Marty Blundell. Marty Blundell joining us virtually. Okay, so again, so we're gonna strike Marty's name, and again, we'll start tomorrow night with the name of people who are passed, just so, you know, if they had to leave, we'll give them an opportunity. The next speaker we have is Hazen Colbert, but Mr. Colbert did send me a text saying that he had withdrawn his name from the list. Okay. The next speaker I have is Julia Keisler, followed by Kevin Hollett. Julia Keisler here. We may have a shorter night than we thought. Okay, the next speaker is Kevin Hollett. Oh, from CMHA. Oh, yeah, that'd be Julia. Okay, so we need to, we have a virtual participant. We'll move over to the panel. Julia Keisler, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you and I can see you.
Welcome. I can hear and see you. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you, everyone. So yes, my name is Julia Keisler. I'm the Executive Director of the Canadian Mental Health Association North and West Vancouver branch. I'm happy to be joining today on unceded traditional territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish nations. I have been in this role on the North Shore for over 6 years, and I don't think we haven't disagreed, I think, across the board about what is the need and that there is a need for housing on the North Shore. It seems pretty apparent from the homeless count. Us at CMHA have dealt with over 500 clients over the last few years in regards to needing housing support. So that doesn't seem like it's up for consideration. I think we generally agree. And we have heard from some pretty compelling personal stories. I really wanted to acknowledge the personal story that Deborah shared. I'm here today on behalf of the organization. I'm here also on behalf of our board of directors, the majority of which live in the district of North Vancouver. We also submitted a letter to outline our fulsome support for this project. I have 3 additional comments that I wanted to make outside of the letter. The first is that I think it's important to acknowledge that in this exact area within walking distance of this proposed site, we have at least 5 supportive group homes for people with mental health and substance use issues, people who have experienced homelessness. And I haven't heard any concerns from any of the members in the audience today in the council chambers, from neighbors about concerns. So I just want to really emphasize the fact that we have clients that are living within the walking distance of the site who have become important contributors to the community because of the stable housing that they've been provided and the support that they've received both from us, from our partners at Vancouver Coastal Health, from our partners at the Health Connections Clinic, from Faith Community Partners. And these are now individuals who help coach your kids' soccer teams and hockey teams, who volunteer and work in the community. So I do want to speak to the evidence that was sometimes questioned about whether these supportive housing sites make a difference. They do, and these are important contributors to our society. I also want to speak today as a mom, as somebody who has responded to countless family members across the North Shore who have raised amazing children and live in the same communities that we all live in, and have adult children who don't have access to any sort of supportive housing sites on the North Shore. And I think this was covered already by another speaker, Lisa McDonald, so I won't go into too much detail, but I do want to express that these are people, like I have 2 sons of my own, and I think that it's not unthinkable that one day them or one of their friends may come across a crisis. They may experience something that they don't have the skills to manage. They may experience a significant mental health issue. They may start using substances at some point in their lives. They may experience an accident at work, an injury, an illness. They may experience domestic violence and need support. And I think more than ever, our community needs to provide that support on the North Shore, close to home, so that family members can continue to be a part of their family members' lives. I've heard this from so many families, so I really believe that a vote today in support of this project supports families, even though some of us can't see that that could be a possibility for us. It really truly is. The last thing I just wanted to say is that This is a purpose-built facility. There are so many partners on board, and maybe this is what makes it different than some of the other sites that have been raised in terms of their concerns. But I also want to say how strong the community is in terms of providing that network of support, and that this isn't a project that will proceed alone. There are so many partners here that are willing to show support. I'm here on behalf of the Canadian Mental Health Association. We have a crisis response team called the Peer Assisted Care Team. No doubt they will be available to provide support. And I really want to say that I do trust the community to step up. During the COVID crisis, we saw faith partners, grocery shopping for one another. And I believe that, as Dawn said, that this is really an extraordinary opportunity. It's an extraordinary opportunity in my mind to choose love over suffering and to make a decision that will support our community and families in our community towards the future. So thank you very much for giving me the time to speak today. I wish you all the best, and it's very nice to hear from all the different community members and hear their concerns and their thoughts. And I hope we can continue to educate our community about what some of these struggles are really about. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Julia Keisler. The next speaker I have is Kevin Hollett, followed by Colm Keating. Kevin Hollett. Okay, I'm not here. Colm Keating. Colm Keating is joining us virtually, and so we just need you to accept that you're coming over as a panelist. There we go. Great.
Hey, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, and I can see you clearly. So welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Cool, thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. It's honestly great to see so many people out and sharing their voices. I did go to the meeting in the Holiday Inn a couple of weeks ago and had some interesting debates with people, I guess, on both sides of the fence here. And I definitely welcome that, and I think that that's a good and healthy thing. So I hope that we can keep having these community discussions in a civil way that just supports more discussion around this. I wanted to say that I am absolutely in support of this project, and that I hope that it goes ahead. I do think it's a massive opportunity for the community to be able to give back and to help those who need it most. I don't want to go over all the points again because plenty of other people have been much more eloquent than me in speaking about it. But one thing that I would want to add is that it seems that most people here tonight are in support of more housing, and in particular supported this type of supportive housing. Most of the complaints come around it not being here, essentially. But I think that, we all put pressure on government and our officials to build more housing, and we can't say that they're not trying, because tonight we have the opportunity to do that, and it would be us that would be stopping it. So I think that we really need to embrace this opportunity and build it everywhere that we can. I also think that this problem is only going to get worse as the years go by. As we seemingly go into a recession, homelessness is probably going to be a larger problem. And I think that we need to build now while we can, so that we can improve the situation, but also maybe prevent it from getting even worse. And just the last thing that I wanted to say was that we're not necessarily voting on whether to have these people in our community or not. As we were already shared by many other people, these people are already living in our community. They're already our neighbors. They're already our friends and family in some cases. And what we're simply voting on is whether or not to give these people a home. And for me, that is just, I can't understand how you can question that. And I hope that this goes ahead. And I kind of wanted to keep it short because I don't want to reiterate, but yeah, I do want to give, I guess, unequivocal support for this. And I just urge people to also be in support of giving people a home, because that is the way that we can give these people a head start and a helping hand that they need to hopefully get out of the situation that they're in. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Colm Keating. I received a note that Sean Vahid has withdrawn for tonight. And so we'll mark him as not here. And then again, we'll add them to the list for the start of the next meeting. So the next speaker is Nata Dadmond, followed by Rowan Gentleman Sylvester. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. Good evening to each and every one of you. And I appreciate that you allow me to speak my heart because I have not had any chance to prepare a written statement. So I state from my heart the experiences I had myself. I had the opportunity to work and also volunteer for areas where there were homelessness and a lot of other issues. I try to keep it as short as possible. I have written some points that I would like to address, is that everyone basically mentioned that how secure the inside of the complex that is going to be built will be. However, nobody addressed how the outside is going to be affected. But before I get into that, I also recall that Julia mentioned that there are some supportive housing in our area, and nobody has ever addressed them or any issues with them. But no, they do have issues. We do have issues with them. There are at least 2 of them. One of them is very close to the site, and constantly we see shady characters going in. They're yelling, screaming, and toppling of the shopping carts, and people are, like, for the lack of better words, stoned and like hanging like that. And when I go to use the trail, my heart like starts beating so fast that I just like I always take a different path when I see people there in that house. So I just can't imagine when those people who have drug issues would be exposed to those shady places, like, as I said, for lack of better words. And the other issue I wanted to address is that my mother lived close to one of those complexes. I mean, before I get into that, I totally am for building supportive housing, but it's just the location that is the problem. The location is a total mismatch because of the demographic and the fact that it's not that central and it's not that close to the facilities. It is close to the cannabis store, liquor store, and the worst part is the playgrounds, children playground, and the densely wooded park, and the extremely bushy paths, and the under ramps, and under the bridges, dark areas, lots of places that could create some sort of a refuge for some people who want to just get out, and provides hangout spots for some of the bodies to come over. But anyways, as I wanted to just briefly mention that, yes, my mother lived close to one of the supportive housing complexes, and she was attacked. They were always yelling and screaming, and needles on the ground, and theft from the cars and the properties. My husband went to help her, and he's not a small guy. He was attacked and beaten up to the point that his nose was broken. We had to take him to hospital to have 2 surgeries. And what he went through, and he keeps waking up. He got PTSD because of that. And it's funny that his company has lost quite valuable employees because these productive, skilled workers could not find affordable housing. So they left the town completely. And as I said, I am for supportive housing. I'm not saying no to that. But the thing is that I wish that the government could purchase some places such as some rundown houses that are close to Lonsdale, Forbes, Mahon, and those neighborhoods that are very close to all kinds of amenities. They're close to the police station and hospital and all that. And I also wanted to mention that my sister rented 2 of her suites. One of them was occupied by 2 drug addict individuals. They started fire inside the home. They started fire outside the home. And she called the RCMP numerous times, and they were saying, "Oh, we are so busy, we cannot help you." And they never attended. So we don't want that. I mean, it's just, it's really scary. I am very anxious, and I cannot imagine going out there, using those trails that all of our property taxes and income taxes have paid for it. And I can't, I'll be totally not going out. And I would ask my husband to move us from the neighborhood. Well, thank you so much for, I really hope, I sincerely pray that all the individuals who need help would get somewhere that is more central. Just like around Lonsdale, around like more Capilano Road, rather than this neighborhood. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments, Nada Dadmond. The next speaker I have is Rowan Gentleman Sylvester, followed by Mario Baresi. And Rowan is joining us virtually. Welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Clearly. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Council, for inviting us all to share our opinion today. Hello, everyone. My name is Rowan. I am a homeowner and a resident of the North Shore and this very neighborhood for almost 10 years now. I'm not going to repeat things that have already been said this evening, and so I just want to give a nod to those who have preceded me, who have all spoken in support of this project as I am tonight. So I want to send a big thank you to all of those who said things so eloquently and so well. MLA Bowen Mott, Joshua Seville, Terry Hendrickson, the North Shore Community Housing Action Committee, Deborah Buxton, Thomas Whittier, I'm not sure I got your last name, Lisa McDonald, Stephanie Wilson, and Julie at the Canadian Mental Health Association, and most recently Colin Keating. I think all of them said so many incredible points, some incredible themes coming up around care and compassion and courage. I think Deborah, it was you that maybe brought that up. And so I'm just very grateful to be among so many incredible neighbors. I also had an opportunity to attend the open house on November, I believe it was the 8th. And it was very challenging. I'm not going to lie, to walk into that room. It felt like I was in a very, very small minority. And so I'm very grateful to have so many others speaking in support of this project today. I'm excited to welcome and to provide homes for our neighbors who are already here, living along the creek, living rough in many cases, or in desperate need of homes. And I'm excited to be able to call them neighbors and hopefully friends. So thank you for this opportunity. Big yes in my backyard, and I look forward to this and many more projects in the district in the years to come.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Rowan Gentleman Sylvester. The next speaker I have is Mario Baresi, followed by Linda Lai. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you for having me. I live on East Keith, very close to the project. I haven't lived in North Van for that long. I migrated here and chose Canada because I thought Canada was the champion of human rights. Not so much the case, unfortunately. I came from a place that has historically suffered a great deal from fascism, poverty, and oppression. And I'm sad to see history repeating itself. The only reason I didn't end up leaving on the streets is not because I'm better than anybody or a harder worker than anyone. The only reason that I have a roof over my head is because I'm more privileged and luckier than others. But I don't sleep well at night. My bed is nice and warm. I can't sleep well when I know there are people sleeping on the streets. And these are not just other people. Those 168 who are either houseless or living with the immediate danger of being houseless are my brothers and sisters. All of them. They're my family. And hearing people refer to them as criminals or mentally problematic deeply offends me. Yes, this is about compassion. It's about empathy, kindness, and being humane. I fully support the project, and I hope the ones who don't can see beyond their fear. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mario Baresi. The next speaker I have is Linda Lai, followed by Macaulay Clayton. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you.
Dear Mayor Little and the District of North Vancouver councillors, my name is Linda. I'm here today to express my deep concerns regarding the 1200 Keith Road as a location for supportive housing for addiction and mental services. I'm a mother with 3 kids. Our kids are 9 months, 3 years, and 6 years of age, whom all attend North Star Montessori. We spend a lot of time at Bridgman Park and the creek. The park is where we go to before and after school, and on days when the kids have bike camps, the kids all like to ride the bikes together there. I'm also a private housing provider, providing 45 affordable SRO rooms in the downtown east side for the last 18 years. Our rents range from $400 to $725 a month. We house a mix of tenants, some who work and some on income assistance, disability, brain injuries, addiction, and mental health. We work with a lot of societies, Lookout, Kettle Friendship, Batchy, and there's a few more. Our tenants are permanent, with the longest being there for approximately 30 years and as short as 1 month. We use the Residential Tenancy Act because as a private owner, that's all you're allowed. So I'm very aware of the challenges this type of housing has. We receive no grants or funding from the government. We do this all on our own dollar. Atira, who is the largest publicly funded supportive housing provider with more than 1,000 employees spread over 30 buildings. Janice Abbott is an executive director of Atira Property Management, which operates a supportive housing complex on 83 West Pender Street in Vancouver, the Arco Hotel. In May of 2021, there was a fatal shooting at the building and the media asked how this could have occurred. Her answer, supportive housing operators don't have the tools to address the prevalence of guns and drug dealers inside the building. It was stated by Abbott that supportive housing staff are unable to search rooms for weapons, prohibit guests because the buildings are covered by the Residential Tenancy Act. So this is why I'm a little bit concerned that this project is governed by the Tenancy Act. Janice Abbott also operated the Winters Hotel, 112 Water Street, where there was a stabbing. Fast forward to April 2022, the Winters Hotel is now burned to the ground. The type of housing that they were housing are hard to house tenants, basically tenants that we can't house. So I commend them for doing that, but to have so many hard to house tenants under one roof is just, no matter how good they are, they can't house that. It's just a burden on the staff, a burden on the system. And these are just a few examples. When asking Luma about potential problems with residents and how they dealt with, how they will deal with it, Luma answered, all residents will have an RTB lease and sign a neighborly agreement. Given this information, you can understand how that does not help with the concerns of the potential problem tenants. The other concern discussed at the information session was that tenants will be on a referral base. There would be no background checks or criminal record checks in place. This is worrisome as there are issues surrounding mental health where they can come out with aggression, violent tendency, sex offenders, child offender. How can we be confident in your decision as you won't know yourself? And this is only based on referral. I would like to share with you a particular incident that happened to me where a tenant was referred to us. We did not do any checks, and when he came in, he was very presentable. A few days in, the complaints started to roll in that he was saying sexual profanities and also started to touch the tenants and our cleaners inappropriately. When I confronted him, about this behavior. I wasn't sure if I can continue.
If you can draw to a close, though, we are past the 5
Yeah,
minutes. Yeah.
I'm almost done. He chased me to my office, and I quickly then called the RCMP. When I called BPD, they said because I wasn't physically harmed myself because I ran away, there was nothing that they could do. And then this individual was free to roam around the community, posing an ongoing risk. And that's where, you know, he's out in the community. I felt like this was traumatic. I didn't feel safe in my own workplace. The main point is that the residential tenancy agreement does not work for tenants. Agreement should be used only for qualifying tenants. The problem tenants will also be bringing problems to the community. That needs to be addressed and not leave to the community to fix alone. There should be a mixture of tenants in the housing to limit.
I do need you to draw to a close, or you can come back as a second-time speaker at the end of the first-time speakers.
Okay, like I do believe that like it should be a mixture, like having someone like Deborah in there as well, right? So, you know, there could be, you know, some diversity.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, the next speaker I have is Macaulay Clayton, followed by Rod Marining. Macaulay Clayton. Are you here? Which, sorry?
I think he might have left.
Might have left? Okay. So we'll put Macaulay Clayton on the check-in list for tomorrow. And so then Rod Marining.
You said I could put this in, how do I put it in?
Yeah, it's just under the front edge of the desk there, just below your hand, isn't it?
Oh. Where can I? So then what? What do you do then? Sorry. Can you show me the map?
Someone who can assist.
In. And nothing is coming up. Let's just open here.
Map. Just it says map.
Here, do you want to just grab?
Yeah, sorry.
It's not seeing the drive.
It's okay. I think we've got there now.
Yep.
Double click. And it's opening.
It is.
It looks like the file was moved or renamed. Okay, let's go back and see if there's. Is it a map of the area that you need?
Yes.
We might be able to just pull one up. Might be quicker. Hold on, I know I've got one in my slides. Hold on, let's see. No, hold on.
Tamsin.
Yeah.
It's not actually even recognizing the thumb drive.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull up my slide that has a map.
Okay.
And
What? Put it in backwards. No, I don't think.
There we go. That showed up.
Okay, where's the map? Map, yeah.
There.
Thanks. Sorry.
Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
I feel like I have to disregard my written notes because there's so much on my mind after listening to everyone. So I'll start off with my name. My name is Rod Marining. I've lived in 1290 East Keith Road. So that's the first house that's right beside the area. I was born in North Vancouver. I was born in Lionsgate. I grew up here, went to Argyle School. So, yeah, I've been here all my life. I want to ask you, why are you in the business of homelessness? Like, what, you're the mayor of North Vancouver. What are you doing being a representative of the BC government for homelessness? It's not your job. You're doing the wrong job. You're being downloaded like every other issue that's being downloaded on the municipality. I'm serious that, you know, this whole thing seems to be very undemocratic. I went to get on the first 2 online projects. It said, Everbright said to me, well, there's only 30 people allowed on this site. There was 86 trying to get on, but there's only 30 allowed. Like, so then you start to think as a voter in North Vancouver that something's amiss here. So if this, what I'm saying is correct, you have to start this process all over again because it hasn't been corrected. 2 online public hearings or public information systems were limited to only 30 people. It's okay. So, you know, it boggles me. When I was a kid, I passed Riverdale's and I said, why are they tearing it down, to my dad? And my dad said, oh, they're getting rid of all the mental health people that have mental health problems. I said, well, what are they going to do with them? Oh, they're just going to put them back on the street. Well, you know, again, what you got is happening is the usual downloading. The federal government wants to download onto the provincial government. The provincial government wants to download on the municipal government. And this is where it stops. You have to say, look at it. We're not in the homeless business. It's your job. You know how much crown land there is in North Vancouver? A lot more than the municipality of District of North Vancouver has. They have plenty of land. They're just trying to get you involved in their business. I'm here for another reason besides, I'm here for the trees that are there. There's about 3 or 4 big trees. Nobody's mentioned this, you know. I've lived that area there. Like, I have a 3 or 4 point buck. A deer comes into my area, that area right there, and he bangs up against my patio door. I thought, what's he doing? And I thought, oh, he sees himself in the patio door, and he's trying to contest the image he sees in front of him, thinks it's another buck. So, you know, this deer won't be able to come around anymore. And he's come around for the last 2 years eating my cherry tomatoes. But what's more important, 65 drug addicts or 1 deer? For me, 1 deer is more important than 65 drug addicts. I'm sorry, but that's all where I'm at. There's two issues here. There's 2 issues. 1 issue is homelessness. I'm fully for having people housed. I really want to see people all housed. It's a right to have housing. But if you have drug addicts, they should be in an institution. They should have proper medication, proper policing, proper oversight. And all the government's done is just put it on your plate. You're being sucked into it. You're gullible, you're naive, and you should get an education of what's transpired in the last 40 years over this issue. So again, I'm going back to the environment. The reason why I'm the co-founder of Greenpeace and Greenpeace International. I sailed into nuclear bombs. I tried to save whales, so on. I've made my point. I'll come and finish my speech tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Rod Merning. Next speaker I have is Mo Katami, followed by Dorsa. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Sure. Firstly, I want to clarify that we don't oppose providing housing for homeless individuals. In fact, we would like to support them. However, we do have concerns for the safety of our community, our family, and the location of this project. Unfortunately, drug users have a legal right to use drugs anywhere in BC. And this is stated by the BC harm reduction nurses. And this article was published on the Vancouver Sun on November 12th. So by saying that, it means that we don't want to discriminate, but I want to see the future. The chance of increasing drug activity, needles, syringes in our park, trails, and our community will be increased significantly. The second one, I want to ask Councillor, you showed us nice picture of those houses. As Jeff was the first speaker, why you didn't show us the current picture of what's happened to the neighborhood? And I find it totally unethical and dishonest. The reason is, today I was passing by and I see that what's happening in the neighborhood. The third one, you mentioned that it doesn't have an impact value on the property value. This is not true. I have been in the real estate business and property management over 15 years. So basically, less tenants and buyers are in favor of renting or buying such a property in that location. And anybody has a simple knowledge of economics can validate my statement. And this is really basic. The reason is I moved to this area because I have a son 4 years old. And we were really happy up to now. We moved this location last year, and this is our dream home. We totally understand, and I understand it might be happen for me as well, as a homeless. But the location is wrong. Because I don't want my 4 years old son exposed to syringes and needles. We have seen in downtown Vancouver what's happening. Families cannot take their kids to the park. There is no place, there is no safe area. And now, basically with this project, our dream will be ruined. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Mo Katemi. The next speaker I have is Dorsa joining us virtually, followed by Barry Fenton. Do we have a virtual participant with the name Dorsa? So Dorsa was attached to the meeting earlier on, but we don't see them there at this point. So we'll add Dorsa to the list for tomorrow night. The next speaker I have is Barry Fenton, followed by Alicia Hutchinson. Barry Fenton is here in the chamber. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you very much. And good evening, Mayor and Council. I know it's been a long evening, a lot of interesting and informative discussion. My name is Barry Fenton. I'm both a member of CHAC and a 30-plus year resident of the District of North Vancouver. I will be speaking in favor of these proposed zoning bylaw amendments. The Community Housing Action Committee, known as CHAC, is an affordable housing advisory committee that has been advocating for affordable and supportive housing on the North Shore for over 20 years. The chair, Don Peters, spoke earlier this evening. The DNV OCP was approved in 2011 and envisioned a diverse mix of housing, which included both non-market, social housing, and supportive housing. The OCP action plan was updated in 2021, and the rental and affordable housing strategy was approved in 2016. However, in 2011, when many of us were involved in developing an OCP, few people envisioned the current housing and affordability crisis or the large increase in the homelessness population on the North Shore. The depth of the housing crisis has led DNV council and staff to prioritize rental, social, and supportive housing projects. DNV can provide support via DNV-owned land on a long-term lease to build these housing projects and also waive the DCCs. On November the 8th, I attended the neighborhood open house to discuss the proposed zoning amendments to provide these important supportive housing units in DNV for homeless residents of the North Shore. They are currently living on the North Shore. Recently, council members approved the non-market social housing project on Lillooet Road utilizing DNV land. So DNV is moving in the right direction to approve the social and supportive housing units identified in the housing needs report presented to this council on July 24th of 2023. Tonight, this public hearing will provide council members information and community feedback to support these 65 studio apartments for people who are homeless or at risk of being homeless and would include 24-hour support services. These people are living on the North Shore now. Tonight is the first step in moving this project forward as a partnership between the four parties, as mentioned earlier tonight. DNV is partners with BC Housing, Vancouver Coastal Health, and Luma Native Housing Society. They've been working on this for many months and years. So to postpone this project would not be an appropriate direction to go. On March the 8th of 2023, the Homelessness Task Force did a 24-hour count of the homelessness on the North Shore. The overnight count, as noted earlier, was 168 homeless people, which was a 39% increase over a 3-year period since 2020. So we're going in the wrong direction, and those of us on CHAC feel that we're losing ground in homelessness and in supportive housing. We need this. This supporting housing project will provide a home for current North Shore residents that are struggling and live outside, are couch surfing in a temporary shelter, or may live in RVs. This project is important to provide supportive housing and the opportunity to improve the lives of these North Shore residents. The residents will be low-income tenants, so it is reasonable to assume that residents won't have cars when parking and other traffic issues are mentioned. The BC Hydro right-of-way is envisioned to provide access and egress to the site and contain parking for staff and visitors. It is worth noting that future residents who are already living in our community are not coming from other parts of Metro Vancouver. One important feature of this supporting housing project are the supporting services being provided by Vancouver Coastal Health and Luma Native Housing Society. They will include dining, cooking, counseling spaces. Staff will be on site 24/7 to provide support to residents. This supported housing project is needed to support current North Shore residents that are experiencing homelessness or are at the risk of homelessness. The overall support services will improve the mental and physical well-being of these future residents. The intended rental rates would be deeply discounted for those on social assistance or disability assistance and are set at $500 a month for a one-person household. It is also worth remembering that the information provided the BC Housing Research Center and studies that showed that the cost of providing supportive housing is less than the cost of providing health and public safety services needed to address homelessness. In summary, this supportive housing project is needed in the District of North Vancouver to provide necessary housing for the current North Shore residents that are experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. As a member of the community and CHAC, I encourage council to vote in favor of the supportive housing project. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you for your comments, Barry Fenton. The next speaker I have is Alicia Hutchinson, followed by Steve Mitchell. Is Alicia Hutchinson here?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Joining us virtually. Yes,
Yes,
I can
I am.
hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today at this public hearing. I'm here today to express my concern about this project primarily on the grounds of safety. While I understand the importance of providing supportive housing for those experiencing homelessness or being at risk of homelessness, it's crucial that we carefully consider the potential risks and impacts on the surrounding community. Safety should be our utmost priority for individuals who reside, work, go to school and attend programmes in the vicinity. I have attended 2 information sessions and I did not come away from those sessions with confidence that safety will be addressed adequately or proactively. What I heard is issues will be dealt with reactively. When something will be done once problems are reported. This is not good enough. This area sees a high number of children attending daycare, schools and programmes. It's not acceptable to approve a proposal of this size and complexity without proper due consideration to the impact of residents and businesses. The information sessions missed a huge opportunity to garner support of the community and instead left us with doubts that suitable resources, plans and actions would be put in place prior to the opening of the complex. This should have been a key focus of information sessions. Instead, attendees were left disappointed and frustrated. Having a proper action plan to address concerns of the community could have brought more support to this proposal. I urge Council to listen to your community. We need a comprehensive plan for safety. I've been listening to all the speakers here and I wonder if you'll be hearing different responses if a realistic plan and engagement with the community had already happened. We've proven examples of where this model has had success. This development is currently presented would pose significant risks to our children. It is naive to think problems will not exist once the proposal is in full operation. There will be an increased presence of drug users, which will be in close proximity to children, and this will have devastating consequences, including exposing them to dangerous substances, violence and crime. I ask Council what will be done to be preventative if this project goes ahead. Appreciating that those currently unhoused are vulnerable citizens, children from our community are also vulnerable citizens and need to be protected. Today, community law enforcement are already unable to respond consistently to community needs. Council can't accept current services will be adequate. In conclusion, while I acknowledge the importance of providing supportive housing for the homeless population, we must prioritise the safety of our community. So far, I have not heard how concerns raised by the community will be properly addressed and how lessons learned from other developments will be implemented. Supportive housing is needed, but please do it with the support of the community. We must find a suitable location that ensures the safety and well-being of all community members, including those experiencing homelessness. Okay, thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you for your comments, Alicia Hutchinson. The next speaker I have is Steve Mitchell, joining us virtually, I believe.
Oh, I can't hear on here.
Can you hear me, Steve Mitchell?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, I just can't hear you very well, but I'll speak anyways. Thanks for hanging in there. That's a long evening. I was present at the meeting earlier and lots of good speakers on both sides. I live in the neighborhood with a family and do share the concerns of this facility coming in. I do wonder, as someone mentioned earlier, what communities like Delbrook, Edgemont Village, and West Vancouver would say to such a proposal. I would assume you'd be met with the same opposition. I do feel there's a need for social housing, low income, contributing members to society working at that location. I don't think it's a great fit for what you want to put in there. All I can suggest, and I'm going off script because most people have said anything I wanted to say already, but the SPCA district owned, I assume, lot down off of Main Street is maybe an option. The Cloverleaf off Dollarton exit on the highway. I mean, there's lots of other district or provincially owned spots, I'm sure, that could support something like this. I will leave it at that, that I do have compassion for the situation. I just don't believe this is the right place for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments, Steve Mitchell. So that's a first pass at the first speakers. I'm just going to quickly double check back in and see whether anybody who was passed earlier, maybe they were out of the room at the time. Just quickly double check. Marty Blundell, have you returned to the room? Okay. Hazen Colbert, Kevin Hollett, Victor Bedrosian left, Sean Vahid, Macaulay Clayton, Dorsa, it was a virtual. Okay, and so we have about 25 more minutes. And so I'm going to try and alternate between people virtually and in the room, asking people to raise their hands beforehand. So I've got second row right here. I'm going to ask you to come up. And then I'll go over there. I'm going to go to virtual and then I'll go there and then we'll get to the back of the room after that. But 25 minutes, that'll probably fill it. So welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing. If you could start with your name, please.
Hello, my name is Farzad. Thank you very much for providing this opportunity to me. I live in neighborhood just 20 meters away of the proposed location. I'm going to be clear. I'm 100% disagree with proposal. So because of the million reasons, and I don't want to repeat all the reasons that other guys just provided. Yeah, it's okay to support the community, to support the people who don't have enough income, but I believe that this is not the right location, and it's not. It doesn't fit to this purpose. So the public hearing was started with the very nice presentation that I don't believe that it's gonna be true. And I do have concerns, and I do have, many points of view that it's, I don't agree with it. So, and I think that there hasn't been enough feasibility study behind of this proposal. And seems that so many partners and organizations are supporting this proposal. And I'm just thinking with myself that, yeah, if I've been working in this organization, I would support this proposal because it does have a positive impact to my resume, but I don't see any positive impact to the neighborhood. I suggest, and I ask the councilors and mayor to listen to the people who are living here, in this area. These people voted you to as a representative in the city. And I used to live in downtown. And then I moved here because I've never felt safe place in downtown. And I don't agree that, having this kind of supportive housing, there wouldn't be any concerns to neighbors. I don't agree. Thank you very much for providing this opportunity.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'm going to go to virtual. I believe we have Olivia joining us virtually.
Hi,
Olivia,
sorry, yeah,
can
can
you
you
hear
hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome. You have 5 minutes to address the hearing.
Perfect, thank you. I just wanted to join in and add my voice to many conversations happening tonight. A lot of people have said a lot of great things this evening. I just wanted to call in to say my unequivocal support for the project. I do understand, there's a lot of conversations around supportive housing, and I understand that there's a lot of fears and a lot of concerns, and that's totally understandable considering a lot of the conversations that happen around these things, especially living so close to Vancouver and the downtown east side, where there's been obviously a lot of bad things that people don't want to see in their neighborhood, and that's come from a long-term issues there as well. But I think largely is that this is going to be serving people who are already in our neighborhood, and there's a lot of conversation around this people not taking into consideration the neighborhood, but these people are a part of our neighborhood, our friends who are living rough, those who don't have homes right now, and by giving them a home, we're giving them the dignity that we all get to have by having a house over our head. So I just wanted to give my unequivocal support to the project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Olivia. The next speaker I have here in the room, please, welcome. And if
Hello.
you could,
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. If you could start your comments with your name for the record, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Abu Taheri, and it's nice to be back after 13 years in the same chamber. trying to convince some of the council members for Salem Village that we rezoned and started. And we are so happy with the project. And it was more challenging to convince the investors to come to this area because we all know how this area was before we started and had the courage to start Salem Village. And I always told them that don't worry, because we have a council, we have a district that have allocated this area as a town center for 5,000 people from Keith Road to Main Street. I don't know if it's still the same, but 5,000 people or 5,000 families are going to be living here. So be sure that it's going to be a good community. Don't worry about your investments. And then when we started building Beacon, we had lots of problems trying to find purchasers to buy in Beacon. I even had to go to news to tell people that this is a good community, we have to invest in it. We spent about $2.5 million in upgrading the parks and all that as our CAC dedication, which you all know. What I'm trying to get at as one of the last speakers is, first, I just came here to check on this event tonight, and I already sent an email to everyone, but I started sitting here and listening to everyone opposing or supporting, and they're both justified, but how to do it is very important. The reason I decided to talk at the last person is that, first of all, I didn't have an opportunity to talk before one, but there's two part to this problem. One is the security. The second one is the value of the people's asset. Some of the people, if not half of the, I don't say half, but some of the people who spoke to support this supportive housing represent organizations. They may not even live in this neighborhood. My daughter actually called me this morning, and she works in London, UK. She said, we have to support this. Please go ahead and support it. I said, yes, you're 5,000 miles away from here. We need to talk about 5,000 families who live here. It's true, we have to support them. As a matter of fact, I fully understand, because I have a charity, I have an NGO for special needs, for the kids in special needs. I work with Special Olympic in US, and I was representing them sometime here. So I fully understand, but every project should have an agenda, should be appropriately done. My experience is probably the closest. The reason I stayed is because I saw and I heard lots of people talk about Travelodge. I just recently completed Sentinel, the tallest building in West Vancouver. And on our right side is the social housing, absolutely no problem. On our left side is Travelodge, immense and lots of problems. Not only people have security problem with the Sentinel, our purchasers at the Sentinel, but also their units have devalued. I have friends who bought units from us for $1 million, and now they can't even sell it for $750. They will sell it for $700 if they can. So people should be concerned about not only security, which is the main important thing, but also the value of their assets. So I fully agree with one of the ladies who were talking about the new model. I had meetings with Minister of Housing. I had meetings with the mayor at the city of Vancouver, because we're building 400 units of rental and affordable. I am proud to say we built the best affordable housing in, if not Canada, in BC. That was Horizon. We now have 70 people living there. In Sentinel, I built 48 units, and there are some affordable people living there in a bedroom and a den for $1,400, $1,500 a month. So why not come up? Now we know we have a lot of crisis in housing. It's not only supportive, it's rental housing, affordable housing. So there are new models that we can have discussion about to try to come up with a model at the time is going, so I'm trying to go fast here, to somehow portray both sides of support and opposing. And one of the gentlemen here said he works close by to a supportive housing in downtown, and he hasn't seen a problem. He works there. And I drive by Crab Park every other day, and I see problem every time I drive by there. So I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying we have to respect people who oppose because of the security and the value of their assets. One last thing I say, one very last thing, because I don't want to come back tomorrow, is that I had 2 investors to invest in this community. And unfortunately, as soon as they found out about this supportive, they have walked away. I've tried to tell them that please come in and invest in this area. As soon as they heard about the supportive, especially the self-injection sites. So maybe we can go step by step, first build the supportive and then create the others. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
It was nice to see all of
Taheri.
you. Thank you.
I have time for 2 more speakers, so I'm going to go with Matt Bond in the back, and then the speaker here, yes, with the blue top, you'll be next. And then we do have to, by our own policy, we do have to end the meeting by 10:30 or have a separate resolution to extend the meeting. And so I'd like to be able to get the last 2 speakers in before 10:30 if possible. Welcome, former Councillor Matt Bond.
Thank you, Mayor Little and Council, and I'm happy to be here tonight. My name is Matthew Bond. I'm a local resident. I live in the Sealand Village that was just mentioned with my 2 daughters. And as a local resident, I'm here to voice my support for this project and the life-changing, life-saving difference that access to safe and secure housing can provide for those that are most vulnerable in our community. In my perspective, the arguments in favor of this project are very straightforward. There's currently hundreds of people facing homelessness on the North Shore. That number continues to rise year over year. And being without safe and secure housing brings upon untold harm upon those people in our community. Each of their stories is unique. They could be seniors facing increased rents, youth transitioning out of care, someone that's faced some unexpected and unfortunate event in their life, whether it's loss of a job or a disability or death of a family member. Every one of those people has a family, has friends in this community, and all of them deserve our compassion and support. And with this project, Council has the opportunity to do exactly that. The arguments against the project boil down to 2, it seems. The first being concerns that there could be a better location for homes such as these. And there could potentially be. There's probably an ideal location for these types of homes and these people to live closer to transit, closer to services. But the district already went through an extensive process to identify this site as a preferred option. And if there was another site out there that was better by all the criteria that the district had, it would be presented tonight, not this one. And from my perspective, given the dire consequences and outcomes of those facing homelessness in our community, deferring or delaying this project for a year or 2 years, or who knows how long it would take to find consensus on another site, would lead to irreparable harm to these 65 people that could live here right now. You know, in 2 or 3 years, the time that's delayed, some of these people might not actually survive. And so what is the number of lives that is worthy to trade for a better site? You know, I would hope that in this community, that number is 0. As a local resident, I have 2 young daughters, they're 6 and 8, and we walk and bike and play in the parks in this neighborhood all the time, every day. I'd like to share my perspective that I don't share the same concerns or fears or anxieties around my safety or the safety of my children. And I'm sharing this to offer you a different perspective. It's not to invalidate the perspectives or the feelings of others. In my context, you know, I live in Sealand Village. There's about 1,000 people that live there. I know that there's more than 5 people with complex needs, with mental health challenges, with addiction issues that live in my building. I don't know who they are. I don't know if they live on my floor. I don't know if they live somewhere else in the building. I don't know if they live somewhere else in the community. I don't know if they have access to the services and supports that they need. You know, 2 people have been murdered in Siouxland Village. And comparing that to this project, where I know that there's going to be 65 people here, some of them might have mental health challenges, but they will have supports. This seems like a better option than the status quo where people are living on the streets. So given that, I think that the risk to me or my family of us being harmed by someone we don't know living in a supportive facility down the street is far less than what's currently in our community right now. And for me, living in my home with a safe and secure place to live, with the resources to access any types of supports I might need for any challenges, or my family, it simply feels wrong that my fears or anxieties would be the reason that 65 people would continue to live on the street. And there continue to be strongly held negative stereotypes and stigmas around those facing homelessness, mental health challenges, and addiction. People in this vulnerable situation are frequently othered and dehumanized. Mayor and Council, I think this project and this opportunity is can send an amazing and positive message if you unanimously support it. It's a positive and powerful message that our community, North Vancouver, is caring, is compassionate, especially for those that are most vulnerable in our society. And so by supporting this, despite the fears and the anxieties, I think we can show that courage for all these people, and I urge you to vote in support of this when you have the opportunity.
Thank you for your comments, Matthew Bond. And our last speaker for this evening, welcome. If you could start with your name.
Hello, my name is Kathy Romsis, and I've lived in North Vancouver for 61 years. I've lived in my home in Lynn Valley, very close to the proposed facility, for 35 years. I've had my children here. I've got my grandson starting in the Montessori across the street when he turns a year old. And I have to say that I think if people describe me, they would describe me as compassionate, because I've had a career in health. And it's because I like to help people. And I've also had family members and friends with addictions, so I also have deep compassion for them. But the definition of addiction, and we've talked a lot about lots of C's. This is from the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, is craving, loss of control of amount of or frequency of use, compulsion to use, and use despite consequences. Again, I've had family and friends that have had the unfortunate circumstance to deal with addictions, and I know that they are not in control. It's the addiction that is controlling. So I want to reinforce the comments, I think, of Stephanie Wilson. I am full on in support of supportive housing. I've worked, again, for poverty, trying to reduce poverty and so on. I'm passionate about that. But I do feel that putting that in the area, and I have to commend the mayor and council in terms of how they have been transforming that area. There are so many young families down there. There's 6 daycares. The Bridgman Park is amazing. All the trails and so on. I use those on a daily basis. So I want to thank you for that. But I think if you have people that have addictions that are controlled by that addiction, it adds a whole complex area. We had a neighbor that brought in their grandson that had addictions issues, and it was instantly, we had police, we had swearing, we had cars zooming up and down the streets. He actually asked his grandson to move because it was impacting our neighborhood very quickly. The other thing is the traffic. I mean, I live right by the Mountain Highway interchange, And in the last week and a half, we have had horrendous traffic. I can't imagine how you could even build something there or have more emergency services. It is honestly just a gong show there. I don't get it. The other thing, this is the first time I've listened to sort of both sides, and I think on both sides there's lots of compassionate people, but I've also heard things that are conflicting. So for example, I can't remember the name of the representative with the housing and saying we've got supportive housing, there's no problems. And then we have neighbors saying there is. And then she's also saying these people will be, you know, coaching and so on. I know that they can't coach. You need a criminal record check. And again, I'm compassionate. I've retired from my health job, but I still have a part-time job where I help moms who are dealing with addictions and mental health issues. So again, it's not that I'm not compassionate and don't want that in our neighborhood. I think it is not the place. I think we need to have the province step up and do their role to provide more treatment facilities for those with addictions. That's where I think we need to focus for those people who are dealing with addictions, is give them treatment options. Thank you so much for listening.
Just, you know, I just wanted to say one thing there, though. I can't be the content cop for everything that comes forward through the public hearing to stop and correct things. But I do think it's a little bit unfair to characterize all of the residents as having criminal records. I think that's not accurate.
No, okay, I didn't communicate myself well.
You said the residents wouldn't pass a criminal records check, is what you said.
No, what
so I just wanted to clarify.
I was going to say what I meant to say. Can I explain what I said?
Please.
So if you want to coach
Yeah.
hockey teams with youth, you cannot if you have a criminal record.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to say.
Sorry.
So the speaker said, oh, the people that would be living in these places, they're the same ones that will be doing your coaching and so on. So
I
if
just wanted to clarify that this is not a halfway house. This is not, there are lots of people who find themselves in financial need and need of supportive housing that don't have criminal records.
I was going to say, that's not what I meant to say.
Okay.
That's not what I meant to say.
Okay.
So it was miscommunicated.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for the clarification, Kat.
Okay.
Appreciate it. So at this point, we have like 1 minute until we automatically turn into a pumpkin on this one here. So I do need to, I have a motion for council, and that is that the public hearing will be adjourned and will reconvene on Wednesday, November 22nd, 2023 at 7 o'clock. That's my motion, seconded by Councillor Murray. I'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned. We'll resume at 7 o'clock tomorrow night in the same room.